Turkish half. Kenan Yildiz is remonstrating with the referee. I think they probably should have learnt by now. There's no remonstrating with this man.
I didn't see that. Well, he's giving that the other way. You know, I seen that as a foul on Yildiz.
There was Bobadilla who was fouled. It's going to be a free kick, and it will be taken by Gustavo Velasquez. Swings it to the far edge of the penalty area, just headed up in the air for Paraguay, and they'll try and gather possession again. And they do get it down with Junior Alonso on that far side. The challenge from Mulder, but it will be a throw-in on that far side. We've had 4 of the 7 added minutes. You're listening to talkSPORT. Turkey 0, Paraguay 1 in San Francisco. Paraguay been playing with 10 men since stoppage time in the first half after Almiron's red card, but they've held on. Everything that Turkey have thrown at them, they have dealt with. Turkey over 50 shots in this World Cup, and they haven't managed to score a single goal as things stand. Is there a moment of Turkish delight to come in these final 2.5 minutes? Well, basically a turkey stuffed. It's one of the two. In the middle, Paraguay have it, building, trying to slip a ball through the centre. It was Maidan. I'm surprised they haven't started going to the corners yet. Velasquez, Gustavo Velasquez swings a ball to the back post. It has to be dealt with by Mulder. Coming in for the header on that far side, desperate to get on the end of it, was Jose Canale. Here is Adegula by his own corner flag. Then he spins and tries to run away the Real Madrid man. He's fouled in the process. It'll be a free kick for Turkey at the right edge of their own penalty area.
Oh, they've played such an intelligent game. Even then, they're pressing high up the pitch, Paraguay, trying to contain the Turkish players. But, you know, it's been a really, really good performance. If you want to see a DVD on Alsa Colt with being a man down, you should look at this.
Less than 2 minutes, there will be more. There will be more than the 90 seconds that remain of that, I'm pretty sure. Edge of the penalty area, left-hand side, Yildiz onto his right foot, gets the shot that's blocked, then cleared away from inside the penalty area, picked up by Uzan, who's going to drive it forward again on this near touchline. Gives it short into the feet of the substitute, Al Mali. He was the one who was booked after being on the field of play for 1 minute and 8 seconds in this game. As a substitute, immediately yellow carded. Here's Yildiz again, left-hand edge of the penalty area. Uzan's going to hit the shot and it's blocked, as it has been time and time again inside that penalty area, this time by Gustavo Velasquez.
It's just a wall of blue shirts, all wearing Paraguayan shirts, so a wall of blue.
Final minute now, free header, oh, he's put it wide, what a chance, a flicked header by Demiral, who's inside the box, and he's put it to the left-hand side of Orlando's heels, left hand upright. He was inches away. What a chance as that ball was pumped inside the penalty area.
It's the first time one of those two centre-halves in that Paraguay defence haven't won the ball that's been crossed in. He rises above Gomez and then looks at it. That must have shaved the post. Hill, the goalkeeper's watching it, can't get anywhere near it, and that has got to be that.
Well, there was that injury in the start of the added time where the goal scorer departed, Matthias Galaza, so that will have a little bit of time on. We're already beyond the 7 minutes. Last chance saloon for Turkey. They trail by a goal to 0 on talkSPORT. They need to score or their World Cup dream is over. Yilmaz on that right hand side towards the byline, good foot in, good challenge from Jose Canale on that far side. They will have a corner though on the right. Yilmaz has gone across. They're not going to take it short, are they? They have to put it in. The goalkeeper's not come up, which I'm astonished by, bearing in mind they need a goal to stay in the World Cup. It's headed away by Alderete, the Sunderland centre-half. As far as Chanolo, right-footed ball into the box, helped on its way, but it's cleared away as Gold tried to get a hold of it. We've had an extra minute. We've had 8 added instead of the 7. Down the left-hand side, Turkey once more. They need a goal. They trail 1-0. Desperate times for the Turks. And there's a foul, and there will be a free kick. And it's going to be about 40 yards out, maybe 35. Adegula is over the top of it. And this must be the last chance, Alvin Martin.
Yeah. By the way, I think the referee is the coolest man in the stadium. He's had control of this game. I thought he was going to lose it. Keeper has come up now, Adam.
He has. Ujanček has gone inside the penalty area. 8.5 minutes of added time played. It's punched away towards the edge of the box. Chanolo draws it back in! And just wide of the right-hand post. The captain fires the shot from about 30 yards out, and there's the final whistle. And they've done it. They've done it. Paraguay have got the win against the odds, and they've sent Turkey packing from the World Cup 2026. Before we've got to match day 3, the Turks are on their way home. Beaten by Australia with 30 efforts on goal. They must have matched that tonight. They're well over 50. And Arda Güler is in tears on the floor. The Real Madrid forward, absolutely devastated, as is Mert Mulder. They've not been able to break the Paraguay resilience. The South Americans led on 64 seconds. A brilliant finish by Galaza from the edge of the penalty area as they tried to console Arda Güler and Yildiz as well. Miguel Almiron was sent off in added time at the end of the first half, the first player in this World Cup to be sent off for shielding his mouth when speaking to an opponent. But Paraguay, backs to the wall with 10 men, have defended for their lives. We knew in qualifying, defensively they were superb. Well, they've demonstrated it tonight on the biggest stage in San Francisco. A full house has watched on as Turkey have been sent home from the 2026 World Cup. They'll play one final match against the USA, who win the group, and therefore are guaranteed to play against the side that finishes third. But for Paraguay, it's a shootout for second spot between them and Australia. And that will take place back here again in San Francisco. But it's farewell Turkey. That World Cup is over. It's finished Turkey 0, Paraguay 1.
Thank you to talkSPORT's Adam Bridge. There's a man who's put in a shift and is well deserving of his hydration break after that. talkSPORT's Alvin Martin. Paraguay still alive, but by the skin of their teeth. How Turkey didn't equalise in the closing stages.
No, it was incredible. Look, I think they earned a little bit of luck, Paraguay. And I think you've got to also give a lot of credit, Ben, to Gustavo Alvaro. He's come into this job. And they've improved beyond all recognition from the moment he came in, and he would have set that up after going a man down, instilled a certain belief in his players, and also how they were going to be able to keep them at bay, Turkey, really, and also offer a threat going back the other way every now and again. And they got it perfect, absolutely perfect. I think there are going to be moments when you ride your luck, and they could have had a couple of goals, but overall I think they protected their goalkeeper so well. When they needed him, he was there, and it was just a great game. He didn't know what was going to go and happen. I was a little worried at half time. We both were, that it might have, it was an ill-tempered game at times. It might have spilled over. It didn't. I think the referee's got to take credit for that, because he had control of a very difficult game. But really, Paraguay, they give it a fantastic defensive display there.
Mate, you're absolutely right, Alvin. Time now for us to pick our king of the match with Burger King.
talkSPORT's King of the Match with Burger King Burger Buddies. The new Burger Buddies box from Burger King features a snackable Whopper, Big King and barbecue steakhouse burger. Flame grilled perfection, now made for sharing. Sort of.
What do you reckon then, Alvin?
Oh, well, look, they were all Paraguay players that are in my mind. The back four were fantastic, left and right back, Caceres, Alonso, Aldelete and Gomez. But look, the one that really showed class, real class at times, was Enciso. He was brilliant, and he was up against it in the second half, but he had to carry a threat on his own at times, and he did it wonderfully.
Alvin Martin, until next time, thank you. That was our King of the Match, all thanks to Burger King.
talkSPORT's King of the Match with Burger King Burger Buddies. The Whopper, Big King and barbecue steakhouse burgers are now available in a snackable 3 and 9 box at Burger King. Don't be the one to miss out, and order now.
World Cup weekend breakfast is on the way with Max Scott and Tony Cascarino. Paraguay just about still alive, but it's farewell Turkey on talkSPORT.
Paraguay towards the edge of the penalty. Only shot and goal! And it's a brilliant strike. A left-footed hit into the bottom corner by Matheus Galaza. It's the perfect start for Paraguay, and that could well be the fastest goal in the 2026 World Cup. Now, it's in the crossbar. The header from Mulder from that free kick. heads it goalwards, and it comes down, and I think it may have grazed the post as well, slipping it in. Casellas across goal, and it's saved. Straight at Ucan Çeka, who makes the stop for Turkey. If you cover your mouth in communication, you will be shown a red card. He's not taken long to look at this.
Number 10, Paraguay, cover his mouth. Decision is red card.
And the El Salvadorian referee sends off Miguel Almiron. Story of this half so far, and it's a shot that's drilled in by Di Maria. The keeper's lost it, made the save initially, then it spun away, then it fell to the feet of Yunus Akgün. Kicked out by Enciso. Enciso now wriggles inside the box. Enciso still going on his left foot. Oh, he can't get his foot back round it to get the shot on target, and he fires it about 5 yards wide. Yilmaz gets it across. Oh, it's in the 6-yard area, and the toe was got on it in the end from Gustavo Gomez. Yilmaz on his right foot, tees it up, saved by the keeper, and goal for Iran. What a chance! Edge of the 6-yard area.
Simon, from Southgate to Tuchel, was this the front-footed difference that you have been wishing?
Oh, definitely. I mean, for a number of reasons, for the reasons that Brad's laid out in terms of the substitutions, from the manner in which this is rock and roll football. This is what we saw with Jurgen Klopp in the second half. Interesting that Tuchel needs to have a reinforcement at half-time, because you would have assumed that that conversation had happened before the game and that they were told to get on the front foot before the game. And England looked quite nervous when they started, and they weren't, for the first 5 or 10 minutes, I thought they weren't really at it. And you know, I think the performance in the second half, I was sitting next to Brad, and he was saying to me, and I think I'm right in quoting him, is that this is the best attacking formation or attacking performance that we've seen in the World Cup so far, in terms of the way that they put it upon the Croatians. Whatever we may have created in the media about how old this Croatian team is, Troy was saying me off air that the average age of the Croatians is 28 and a half, whereas our team is 27. We've been walking around under the impression this is a dad's army, just because you've got Luka Modric. So they're not mugs. You know, I think we could have done better with the goals, but notwithstanding that, you know, whatever lessons we think we need to learn defensively, Tuchel will learn them and they'll make some adjustments. But offensively, if you look at that performance, that is as good as you want an England side to play. It's as good as an England side has played on the front foot for a very, very long time. And you look at it, and 4-2 flatters the Croatians to some extent, because England could have had 6 in the second half. So I think it's a great marker. It's a great start to the tournament. It's what the public will want to see. Tuchel is hiding his light behind a bushel, because I would imagine he was very strong in the dressing room at half-time to wake a few people up, because you saw it, they came out of the traps like men possessed. Yeah. You know, they scored the perfect cure to a goal just before half-time is a goal directly after half-time. And that's exactly what England got.
I also thought as well, sorry, I know you've got to go to break.
No problem.
But you know, now you see so many managers say buzzwords. Yeah. And he's talking about being aggressive, being on the front foot. He actually means it, doesn't he? You get that sense of, when he say we're on the front foot and be brave, if we make this mistake, it's on me. It's not on you, lads. So I think when a manager's that aggressive in what he says and believes it, it's easier for the players there, because you know, ultimately, if we fail, we've all failed, and he's not going to throw me under the bus.
Good morning, how are you? This is the World Cup weekend breakfast with me, Max Scott, alongside former Chelsea and Republic of Ireland striker Tony Cascarino.
Good morning, Max.
Morning,
everybody.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. It's been another absolute belter of World Cup action. What we've just seen in that Turkey-Paraguay game was fantastic. Another game for Scotland. We're going to get into all of that, so please get in touch. Give us a call, drop us a message on WhatsApp. You can text us on 81089 or give us a call 03717 223344. What do you think of Miggy Almiron getting his first red card, the first ever red card for covering his mouth? The referee's VAR announcement is the funniest thing I've ever seen in football. And Scotland fans, were you robbed of a penalty in that loss against Morocco? Get in touch, 03717 223344. This is the weekend World Cup breakfast live on talkSPORT. Cass, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Worked a bit this week, so on games commentary, which was great fun. But obviously, like you, watching Paraguay take on Turkey, and we obviously the earlier game of Scotland taking on Morocco, which I always knew. We knew that Morocco and Brazil were going to be the best two teams in that group, and Scotland have had to play the first of, Brazil or Morocco. They've played Morocco and they've lost. I'm not surprised. I don't think many Scottish fans are either.
Yeah.
They've still got a chance. They've still got a chance of getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's start with that game between Scotland and Morocco, shall we? The Tartan Army knockout hopes suffered a slight blow, but still a chance. They conceded after just 70 seconds to fall to a World Cup defeat, thanks to a goal from Bayern Munich's Ismail Saibari. Both John McGinn and Scott McTominay, we're going to get into this, looked like they were fouled in the box, but the referee and VAR waved play on. After the game, Steve Clarke said he felt his side were unlucky not to get a penalty.
I've got to be honest, everyone in the flash area where I did my interviews were talking about the Scott McTominay one. That's the only one I didn't watch back because I don't get much time. I've got to come out and speak to you guys. I thought the John McGinn one is a 50-50. Some will give it, and I think if the referee gives it, the VAR doesn't overturn it. So I can only speak on that one. I was a little bit 50-50 as well on the Shea Adams last man. He's got a chance to go through one-on-one with the goalkeeper and he gets brought down, and again the referee chooses yellow and VAR backs the referee. But listen, there's nothing we can do about that.
Steve Clarke there speaking about those two penalty shouts for Scott McTominay and John McGinn. Cass, do you think that Scotland were robbed of a potential penalty?
I wouldn't say robbed when they're 50-50 decisions. I think Steve will be, and rightly so, gutted that he didn't get one of them. I think the block on Shea Adams was one that easily, again, it's a 50-50. They've just been on the end of two poor decisions. Were they the better team in the game? No. Has Morocco proved what we already knew, that they were a really good side and a dangerous side in that? But yeah, of course you'd be disappointed. When you lose 50-50s, you're upset anyway. Yeah. But if you have two of them, I didn't think the Scott McTominay one incident was, which he talked about there, I didn't think that was a penalty. So, look, decisions just go against you at times. You have to take it on the chin. And I think Steve will move on very quickly from it.
Yeah.
You'd be gutted as a fan of Scotland, as a player you would be, that you didn't get that type of decision.
I agree. I think the Scott McTominay one was innocuous, but I do think that the John McGinn one was a foul. I think you see that get given a lot. But after the dust settles on this, you mentioned the fans there, Cass. After the dust settles and the initial disappointment of losing, once that's gone, do you think that the fans will feel positive about the fact that even after they conceded after 70 seconds, they've only lost 1-0 against a side who we know are absolutely tip-top?
Really dangerous.
So surely there's reasons to be positive there.
Of course, Max. Of course, Max, you have to be positive because you haven't got time to be disappointed.
Yeah.
After the next game, if you lose, you're going home. Okay? It's that sudden. I remember leaving the World Cup and two of them going there. And when you leave, it's like, pack up, we're going home tomorrow. And it's as straightforward as that. So you have to really focus on what you need to do against Brazil, how you can get a result, and move away quickly from what's just happened. World Cups don't give you time to start thinking and feeling sorry for yourself or how disappointed. You're straight on to the next game.
Heads up, Tartan Army. Big game against Brazil. You, of course, got history in the tournament. But as it stands, Scotland, and of course, this is as it stands, they will go through as one of those 8 best third-place finishers. And as it stands, Cass would take on Germany in the first knockout round. That's a great tie if it happens.
Yeah, well, look, if Scotland do get through and they manage it because of the way, it's been done this year as in the World Cup, that you can get through as one of the third place teams that just done enough, because they haven't been hammered, have they? They've lost 1-0 and they've won 1-0. So, yeah, they've got a chance of that. But you still try and go after Brazil and get something out of the game.
Strange decision from Steve Clarke for me, and we don't know the full context about fitness, etc. Bringing on Lyndon Dykes instead of Lawrence Shankland, who we know has been unbelievable goal scoring form. Ben Fletcher is a proud sort of man of Scots heritage.
Yeah.
Just come off there. He wasn't particularly happy with Lyndon Dykes and how he performed. It is a strange one from Steve Clarke, isn't it?
I don't know why. Steve, look, he started. So, yes, you could make the point, well, Lawrence Shankland started in the first game against Haiti, and then with a substitution, he chose to go Lyndon Dykes coming on instead. Now, whatever reason that is, we don't know. He might think, I'll tell you what, I'll keep Lawrence Shankland for the game against Brazil. We don't know if that will be the outcome.
But when you know you've got, you can secure your place in the knockout rounds with a point against Morocco, why would he hold him back?
I don't think he's holding him back. I think there's a little bit. Look, I played with Steve at Chelsea, okay? And Steve's very conservative in the way he thinks. Okay. And I said to you last week, he never gets too high and he never gets too low, okay? So that's a good thing. So Steve is always thinking about maybes that could happen that give him a chance. And it served him really well being that type of manager for Scotland. And I think he'll look at the Morocco game and then going into the Brazil game in a similar fashion. I don't think it's any more than... I don't think Steve just gone, you're dropped, to think he might have just looked at Morocco and thought, I don't really need a leader of the line against Morocco because of their high intensity. We're never going to get players to join very quickly. And some might go, well, that's wrong. You need a player that can do that. I just think he might have a little bit of a bigger picture in his mind as well, because they could quite easily, as you said, be one of the 8, third teams in their groups that get through.
Yeah.
You don't want to get beat 4-0 with, or 3-0 and then definitely be out.
That's a good point. It's a good point. And that conservative approach maybe in the long run.
And I think that served him well. He's a conservative guy. I know him from 1992 when he was with him, and Steve has always been that way. And look, he's had a long, successful management career. He's had his ups and downs in that as well. Mm-hmm. But his thinking has got him to where he is today.
Yeah, without a doubt. We can't really question Steve Clarke for what he's achieved with this Scotland side, making history in so many different ways. And I'm delighted, Cass, we've got some special guests coming up here. Tom and Luke Stoltman are the world's strongest brothers, and they've been doing some amazing stuff on social media and in the weightlifting world, including playing head tennis. I saw this a little bit earlier on, over some mad bar. I think that you throw not kettlebell, but like those big heavy balls.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can head it over that, the neck strength, certainly not something I've got, impressed me no end. Now, ahead of the Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games kicking off next month, the record-breaking duo have been sharing their world-class expertise, helping the next generation of strongmen on the globe. Tom and Luke Stoltman, very good morning, boys. Thanks for joining us.
All right, so
morning.
Luke.
Morning.
I was going to first question, who's the strongest?
Of course, it's Tom, me. Big Tom is the strongest, I must say.
Tell us how this came about. Tom, I'll ask you first. How this come about that the pair of you have just done so well? Have you basically been training together for a number of years, even since young lads?
Yeah, I mean, Luke's 10 years my senior, so Luke got into it first, and then he showed me the direction to the gym, and started at 16, 17 years old. Watched Luke for a while before I started doing strongman, and took it like a duck took to water. Got addicted. Luke took me under his wing, and ever since then, we've just been training and lifting rocks, pulling trucks, and competing around the world. So it's been fun.
Oh, we love it. Now, it's interesting because me and Cass initially thought you were going to be in the studio, and seeing you boys now, I'm actually happy that you're not. And I mean that with the best intentions. Look, talk to us about Scotland, because I imagine you've maybe been up all night long. You might have had a little kip. What do you make of, just generally? We'll get to the game in a minute, but generally, the Tartan Army have been the cherry on top of this World Cup. Just so impressive, and seeing what it means to those fans.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's history, isn't it? And they're making the most of it. There's thousands and thousands of fans out there. The fan zones are filled. The national anthem getting sung everywhere in the world and also in the stadiums as well. But yeah, the Scotland fans are the best fans in the world. I think they drank Boston dry as well, didn't they? So,
yeah.
Win, lose or draw, they know how to party. So.
I think it was they drank 3 times more in Boston than they do on St Patrick's Day. And of course, we know about the Irish connections to Boston. That is no mean feat, let me tell you. So yeah, impressive stuff from the Tartan Army. What do you watch the game last night? What did you make? I mean, after 70 seconds, you must have been thinking this could be our worst nightmare. But I think there's reason to be positive about the fact that Scotland just managed to keep it that way. And as Cass has just mentioned, goal difference could be a massive thing. So I think there's plenty of positives to take from it, even though you lost.
Yeah, I mean, Morocco, a very good side. I mean, the worst possible start you could have. But yeah, I thought maybe Morocco might have kicked on and done 2, 3 or 4, but fair play to Scotland. They held their heads, got themselves together, and for the rest of the game were quite tight. I think maybe there should have been maybe a penalty with John McGinn.
I agree.
And then that could have changed the game as well. But, if you don't get out, it's on to Brazil now. But we need to keep the goal difference down because there's third place playoffs to get in as well. And hopefully we get into that. But yeah, it was a good game in the end. But lucky there was not much more damage after the 1-0. So.
I'll tell you what's really nice. What I like about the Scotland team is I just like the character of the side, where I just think whatever you get, you're going to get a sweat, blood and tears from them. They're going to give absolutely everything in a really nice, good way. They were a very likeable team to, the group of players that obviously Steve Clarke's got.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, if they all come together individually, they're good, but as a team, that's the most important part, and that's how you win a football game. And I think, Andy Robertson, good leader. You got, obviously, John McGinn, sorry, how do I forget John McGinn, Scott McTominay, all these guys, they're all leaders, but they can all link up good. So, like I said, hopefully going on to the Brazil game, they get this out their system quickly and give Brazil a run for the money, because a draw against Brazil or even a win would be unbelievable, and I think that would see them through, and that would be a party and a half then.
Yeah, it would be. I've got a feeling that you really can. Brazil aren't what we know they can be. And I know they've beaten Haiti 3-0, but I don't necessarily think that reflects the team they are. I'm back in Scotland to get something out of that game and really book themselves into the next round.
At the moment, they're on a 0 goal difference.
Yeah.
So it's a really good advantage over all the others that will finish third.
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
Even if they get beaten 1-0, it's only going to be -1. So they're still not in a bad position, Scotland.
Yeah, no. Now, look, mate, we've sort of gone over how you and your brother got into the gym, following in his footsteps, but also we understand you've been helping out Team Scotland's rising powerlifting star, Finn Davidson. So you got your fingers in so many pies. How's that been?
Yeah, I mean, that was quite cool. I mean, Finn Davidson, Commonwealth Games, powerlifter, like you said, and it was unbelievable to him to come up to the gym. And I think he's 58 kilograms, and he can bench press 3 times his body weight. So I think he can bench press about 160 kilograms. And the difference with them, they get tied in. Yeah. Obviously, they don't have any straps on, no leg power, so it's all just pure raw strength. And it's going to be the first. It's going to be the first event at the games as well. And I think that's the first ever time there's been a powerlifting first event, medal event at the games as well. So yeah, it's going to be unbelievable. He looks very good to get a medal, so fingers crossed for him. And the whole Scottish team looks really good. So.
And for me, it feels like the whole world's talking about Scottish sport. Whether it's sort of what was happening with Celtic and Wilfred Nancy and then Martin O'Neill, Rangers as well, the Hearts almost making history. You've got the Commonwealth Games, you've got you boys, you've got Scotland and the Tartan Army. It feels like a really good time at the minute for Scottish sport.
Yeah, look, you do this, look.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's nice to get some recognition in Scotland. Obviously, over the last kind of decade or so, there's maybe not been a huge amount to celebrate, but we've got a lot to celebrate now. Obviously, Scotland, the World Cup, Tom myself, the Commonwealth Games coming to Glasgow. So hopefully there'll be a lot of medals in the Commonwealth Games. Hopefully Scotland will get out of the group, and hopefully Big Tommy and myself will come back next year and smash Strongman like we always do.
I can remember the Strongman. I actually did an event with the guy he was a Scandinavian. He used to pull the trucks with his teeth. Luke, do you remember? He used to pull the truck with his teeth. Put that gum shield in and pull a truck.
That's Sven Carlson, or
is that his name? Yeah, yeah.
Might have been Sven. He was a bit of a maniac.
No, he was. He definitely, and he was telling us all the injuries that he occurred. Because obviously with you guys, you're pushing your body limit, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're kind of going there, 100% every time we train, every time we compete, and that's why Tom and I are great advocates of recovery. I unfortunately broke my leg about 12 weeks ago, not through a strongman incident, but jumping in some low tide in the sea. I snapped my fibula. So not the best, guys.
Well, did you just snap it back while you was in the sea and get out?
I just took it off. I just walked it off. It's fine now.
You guys are something else.
Oh, boys, absolutely brilliant stuff. Thank you so much for joining us. And make sure you follow Tom and Luke Stoltman, the world's strongest brothers. Me and Cass relieved that they weren't in the studio. Hunking great lumps, those two boys, aren't they? Top chat, brilliant stuff. Off the back of that as well, Scotland fans, the lines are open. 03717 223344. Give us a ring this morning. Were you denied a penalty? I think that John McGinn, that was a stonewall penalty, but Steve Clark, nice and calm about it. You still got that game against Brazil. I'm convinced you can get something from that. You're listening to the Weekend World Cup Breakfast on talkSPORT. Coming up next, we're going to chat Brazil.
Well, we're talking about Arsenal because the press are talking about Arsenal.
Squeezed Arsenal into a World Cup show.
You're about to hear. Are you Arsenal in disguise? In the Daily Mail. Yeah, we're going there. We're going there.
Who's written that? Is that you? Is that by Laura Coke Francis?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's my first line in the Daily
well
Mail.
Done. Congratulations.
The Nation joins Gunners fans in praise of Rice's corners.
Oh, come on. This is... Benty and I were out hobnobbing with the Rich and Famous last night, or maybe Rich and Shameless, and we were talking to Piers Morgan.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And he asked the same question about Declan Rice's corners, and I'm like, he's just taking the corner, the fella.
Mate, no.
I love Declan. You know that.
Hey,
but unless you've got Harry Kane running onto it, a corner's only as good as the finish.
No, look at Arsenal been doing all season, and people have criticised us for that.
You just bullied goalkeepers, you smashed goalkeepers out of the way.
That's so right. So the hypocrisy here is loud and clear. In the Daily Mail, which I've just messed up there, they're calling it dark arts in praise of the dark arts that England have employed at corners, which we've been very vocal about.
We're not doing those corners at the World Cup.
Yeah,
Declan's doing outswingers.
Did you see the amount of... So do Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm saying, but when it's an in-swing, everyone's smashing into the keeper. These are outswings. Harry Kane's running onto them.
Now, all the blocks, I saw the blocks the other night, England.
Yeah, so just to be clear, corner's good, but corner's not good when Arsenal do it. In-swing are good, outswing are bad.
Unless Harry Kane's on the end of them,
So, safe to say, according to you, and I think I speak on behalf of Arsenal Nation here, I'm not allowing you to enjoy us having corners, if that's all right. So as far as you're concerned, it was 3-2.
I'll speak on the rest of the nation, right? And I don't like your attitude.
I love it.
Yeah, I the hypocrisy.
No, here's what's going to happen. Yep. So you, of course, won't remember, and neither will I, but in 1966, when England won the World Cup, right? Jeff Hurst scored 3 and Martin Peters scored the other one, and Bobby Moore lifted it. And West Ham, for years, were like, West Ham won the World Cup. And this is exactly what you're doing now with Arsenal.
It is exactly what we're doing.
Right.
But
Declan Rice took the corner. Now, I love Declan, so I don't want to say this, but out of everyone that played, who got the lowest marks?
You don't believe that?
I don't believe that.
Declan was very good.
I know he was, but it's Harry Kane. It's Jude Bellingham.
No, the delivery, it's all about the delivery. There's no point Harry Kane being there if the delivery is not on point.
No. Great.
talking about Jude Bellingham. Because of his talent, because of his ability, Kyle, he's often the focus of attention, isn't he? I mean, tell us, I mean, you've been in the same dressing room as him. What's he like as a person?
No, he's good, and I think he carries a lot of weight on his shoulders for such a young boy. I think people probably forget how young he is. Obviously, he's gone on from leaps and bounds from Birmingham City to Dortmund to now playing for, one of, if not the biggest clubs in the world. But I was saying it before, I think Morgan Rogers is a great player. I played with him at City. He's done unbelievable for Villa. But I just think in them moments, Jude Bellingham probably pips him just because of the big game moments, and last night proved that.
Yeah.
How good is he? Because you've been in training with him, you played with him. Because when we watch him, I just see someone who can score left foot, right foot. I see someone who can get box to box, good in the air. Looks like a complete player.
Yeah, I think, he's an all-rounder. He can tackle, he can defend, he can attack, he scores goals. As you just said, left, right foot, he's got an engine on him. Is he a silky number 10 that we're probably used to seeing in the Premier League? Probably not. He's more of a powerhouse, but in these conditions that they're playing the World Cup in like this, it could work to our advantage with having him, Declan and, Anderson that all have good engines on them and then can get up and down the pitch.
Does it ever get to him, the sort of criticism that he gets, the media attention that he gets?
I think probably it does. I think probably it does some way, but I don't think you can let it get to you. I think when you're a big football player like that with a name that you've got, obviously you're going to hear and you're going to see. People are going to tell you what people are saying, but you have to take that pressure. You're Jude Bellingham. You're Jude Bellingham, and you've got that pressure on your shoulder. You're playing for Real Madrid and also representing England in the number 10 jersey, so you've got to deal with it.
We've seen a few months ago, there were journalists saying that he shouldn't be involved because there was reports that Jude Bellingham makes the older players, they're scared to play because he's so much of a character. And I was like, surely, Walks, you're a senior player. Jude Bellingham, if he's 18, 19, 20, he's not going to affect the senior pros, is he?
No, I don't think it affects you. You try and play to Jude's strengths, and you try and get him on the ball when he wants to get on the ball. Would anyone want to or don't want to play with Jude Bellingham? Well, you...
Yeah, good morning. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast. Me, Max Scott, alongside former Chelsea striker Tony Cascarino. We've got loads to react to from a busy, busy night of World Cup action. Haiti and Turkey are out of the World Cup. Scotland lost out to Morocco, but still looking good for those qualification into those knockout rounds. And we've been getting some texts in on Scotland's performance. From where you can get in touch, 810 89, or you can give us a call, 03717 223344. DT says, why the hell does Scotland only go for it in the last 15 minutes? It's infuriating. I understand what you mean, but Morocco are a top outfit. Cass has also said, that goal difference being zero might really help Scotland. We've also had a text all the way from Paphos in Cyprus. Charlie says, sadly, Scotland, if they don't have any shots on target, you're not going to win. Please give a mention to Paphos FC, Liverpool, Havant and Waterlooville, and Huddersfield Town, my four teams. Absolute journeyman. Thanks, Charlie, from Paphos. And then Glenn has said, and I think he's absolutely bang on here, talkSPORT's Alvin Martin and Adam Bridge were on top form for the Paraguay-Turkey game. It was outstanding. His voice breaking a couple of times late made the moments real. Glenn, you're absolutely bang on. They were on top form for a blockbuster end to that game, which saw Turkey out of the World Cup. How they didn't score, Cass?
Yeah, look. I mean, Turkey was extraordinary. Paraguay, and listen to Alvin. I mean, we had it on the screen and we're listening to Alvin and Adam, and it was great. And I know Alvin for a long time, so now Alvin's brilliant at what he does. But the game itself, Turkey through the kitchen sink. And incidentally, the manager, Vincenzo Montella, who's been around, he was a striker himself. He was a great striker. It's been a 3-year project. So they've gone back-to-back tournaments. Okay, so they've done the previous major tournament, and they've
Turkey,
yep. And they've done this one. So you think it's a safety net? It's not. It's not. He'll probably lose his job now because 75% of managers lose their job after a big major tournament.
75,
and honestly, it's a really high ratio. It varies from, it can be as high as that, and he'll probably lose his job, but having a really successful time. And his nickname, the manager, Little Aeroplane.
Little Aeroplane.
Yeah, all to do with his celebration. When they score, the Little Aeroplane. That's what he's nicknaming. And look, they've got some terrific players. Arda Gulu, Real Madrid. They've got Yildiz and Yildiz. The two players are good. They should be doing better. I thought Turkey would qualify quite.
They're quite often, Cass, in major tournaments, people sort of not dark horse to win it, but to cause some problems. And it's one of those where, and I think we've seen this a lot. We saw it with Australia against Turkey. We've seen it today with Paraguay, just defending solidly, men behind the ball, banks of five.
Max, that's a really big point because both times they've been beaten by two teams who defended brilliantly. Yeah. Australia did against Turkey. They were sensational.
Incredible.
Blocks, get in front of the
goalkeeper Beach.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It was across the board with Australia. It was as that. And tonight, I thought it was even a more better defensive display because they went to 10 men. And that 10 men defended heroically. Subs that were called on run their socks off and just caused, problems for Turkey to score. Don't get me wrong, they had their chances, Turkey, and it was a humdinger of a game.
Yeah.
And it looked like Turkey was always going to get an equaliser. But Paraguay got over the line.
And fair play to them. Another game, big game last night, of course, we want to look back on is Brazil announcing themselves in the tournament. They're beating Haiti 3-0. First win for Don Carlo and the Seleção at the World Cup. Much better performance than against Morocco, Cass. Did Ancelotti make the right call, do you think, by bringing in Cunha over Thiago?
Well, Cunha's got 2 goals, so absolutely it was the right call. And the difference in the team was that obviously, Cunha was playing in that centre-forward role, but Rafinha was in that role as well. They were like playing as 2 up front.
Yeah.
And he put Paquetá sort of in behind them. That worked. And that was ultimately the difference in the team. And it allowed Vinicius Junior to get in the game and do what he can.
Yeah.
I was surprised Casemiro kept his place.
Yes, because he was hoiked at half-time, wasn't he?
At half-time in the previous game, against, was it Haiti?
Morocco.
Morocco, sorry. Against Morocco. And I kept thinking that will be his last game as a starter.
Yeah.
But that's the genius of Carlo Ancelotti. He still sees things right.
And that's also, you've got to give credit to, I think, to Casemiro. I mean, he gets enough credit for being an absolute world beater at Madrid, but we've almost seen in just this tournament a microcosm of what happened to him at Man United. People accusing him of being too overweight, unfit, not being able to cover ground. And then he left Man United, a bit of a cult hero because of the hard work that he put in and the form he was in. And I guess you could say we've seen that as well early in the early hours. He's had a shocker in the first game and he's come back and proved a little bit.
When you get dragged after 45 minutes, your obvious your feelings would be, that's me done.
Yeah.
I might come on as a sub and no more. But, Carlo's just put him straight back out there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been such a successful manager and probably one of the best ever man managers.
Yes.
Carlo Ancelotti. That's one of his biggest strengths, without a doubt.
Vinicius Junior on the score sheet again. I'm kind of wondering. Look, I know it's Haiti. I know it's it's a winnable game, easy game for them, and fair play. They've won 3-0. I just wonder, do you think we have jumped the gun a bit in our assessment of Brazil? Is there a risk that might come back to bite us for saying they're off it, they're not the team they were, and maybe they're being written off too early, Cass?
Well, we don't know the answers to where Brazil are. Have they been impressive? They certainly weren't against Morocco. They had periods in the game, but very small ones. I thought Morocco were clearly the better team. Obviously beating Haiti, that's a sort of given. But we don't know until they get out to the knockout stages, because they will be in them, what type of team Brazil are and how good they are. I'm still not convinced in the midfield area they can get overrun. Paquetá, he's a talented player on the ball, but they do lack legs in their midfield. Ramirez is not quick. He's a terrific player, but he's not quick.
No, yeah, he looks sluggish sometimes,
quick. So they got 2 midfielders that you could sort of bypass. So it'd be really interesting to see what Brazil are like in the knockout stages.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Good day for Brazil and Don Carlo. Still questions to answer. If you're asking me.
Alisson produced a few saves, by the way, as well.
Well, that's what you get with a world-class keeper in between the sticks. You're listening to the Weekend World Cup Breakfast. Next up, we're going to delve into some of the back pages.
I've got to speak to you about England then, obviously, of course, the result the other day. Really good second half performance. First and foremost, what did you make of the performance? And some people are saying it's the best half of football they've seen England play in years.
Well, what I was really impressed with, there's two things. The turnaround in the second half, and you saw Harry Kane, Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham all come out speaking glowingly about the manager's team talk at half-time. So that's an absolute massive, massive, massive plus, because a manager that's very aggressive, he's punchy, and he ain't going to go out trying to stay in a game. He's going to go out trying to win a game, and if it doesn't happen, he ain't going to be for the want of trying. And the second thing is, his aggressive substitutions and really decisive substitutions in the second half late on, where normally you see a lot of managers go, we're going to protect this lead. He's saying, no, I've got my foot on their throat and we're going to finish them off. And I love that. And if that's going to be the way we go about this tournament, we're going to have a good time.
I totally agree with you. I said that, actually. Do you think that's the difference between what Southgate would have done and maybe bring on like a Calvin Phillips, a holder, to make sure we didn't lose the game?
Yeah, Southgate and a lot of other managers have done that. And I think that was probably when you're looking back now, it's a great thing having hindsight, but our Achilles heel probably, even though we've got further than any team since '66 in these last couple of tournaments, we still were playing at times, it felt, with the shackles on or the handbrake half up in the critical moments, in the biggest moments for England in these big games. And so with that comes kind of apprehension and a bit of anxiousness when you're watching those games, right? And Benty, you've been in them England squads, yeah? A lot of the guys in them teams and as a unit, as a team, as well as individuals, we were scared to lose games. And this team in that second half just looked like a team that were just freed up. And that bodes well for us.
Yeah, good morning. This is the World Cup Weekend Breakfast on talkSPORT. I'm your host, Max Scott, and Bromley's finest son, Tony Cascarino, is joining me up until 10 a.m. Now, a reminder, we're not just bringing you live commentary of every single World Cup match this summer. We've also got live motorsport this Saturday morning as Formula E returns to China. The all-electric World Championship returns to the tropical heat of Sanya, where drivers will battle 80% humidity as well as each other. I bet they're not having hydration breaks in the Formula E. Absolute disgrace. Can't stand it. Anyway, Portuguese Formula E driver Antonio Felix da Costa was blunt in his defence of Cristiano Ronaldo's place in the Portugal World Cup starting 11.
The Portuguese federation is a very healthy, financially speaking, federation because of Cristiano. We cannot forget the moments that he was on the peak of his career and coming to play 90 minutes in friendly games for the national team. So I live in the opinion that I don't have short-term memory loss. I remember everything he's done for us, and he should play the minutes that he wants to play, and I think the team needs to accommodate for that. Of course, we have a lot of talent in the young guys, and it's for sure not an easy situation to manage, but we cannot forget what he's done for us, and we need to use him in the good way.
Formula E driver Antonio Felix da Costa defending Ronaldo because he's not got short-term memory loss. Well, I've not got short-term memory loss about how great Shearer was. I don't want Shearer in the starting 11 for England side. Anyway, we'll get more on Portugal, but I mean, Cass, I've just got to say, Rory, you were on comms duty for this Portugal game. talkSPORT's very own Rory Jennings. That was it. He's got Rory Jennings has got a £5,000 charity bet with Piers Morgan that Ronaldo doesn't score in this World Cup. We're going to get stuck into Ronaldo a little bit more this weekend, but who are you backing to win that bet as it stands?
Well, depending whether he's selected for the game against Uzbekistan.
Of course he will be.
Which is, Tuesday? I think it's Tuesday. But anyway, will he play? We'll know what Martinez does. Will he play? Because from what I see, I saw in that particular game against DR Congo, there wasn't anything.
No.
Anything to say he did that well. Whether it was a header, whether it was a shot, whether it was a moment of brilliance technically, it was non-existent.
Yeah. Well, look, we're going to keep our powder dry on that one for now, because right now it's time for a bit of this. Producer Oscar is here to delve into the back pages this morning. How do you feel about your theme tune, Oscar?
I quite like it, actually.
Yeah.
Shout out to DJ Jasper for picking that one out for me.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. It's a good one. Right, tell us what you got in the back pages this morning, mate.
So, first story I wanted to cover is all about the World Cup coverage between the BBC and ITV. Obviously, ITV have got this incredible studio that I'm sure that we've all seen on our TV screens with that amazing Manhattan backdrop. But there's been a really interesting article from Des Lynam, who obviously was the very famous former host of Match of the Day from over a decade, from 1988 to 1999. He's done a really interesting piece just about the differences between ITV and BBC's coverage. He's mentioned there a man called Paul McNamara. He was the brains and the vision behind the BBC's incredible studio in the 98 World Cup in Paris. There was that incredible, beautiful Parisian skyline. Now we have it with ITV, and we've got that incredible Manhattan skyline. And he's done a piece effectively just about how the way ITV have got such a good coverage, the brilliant dynamic you've got with Neville and Ian Wright and Roy Keane. And just on mentioning in terms of the BBC, obviously, they haven't sent a team up. We know that they're not in the studio. They're based in Salford. But Cass, I know this is a story that you really wanted to cover. I just wanted to get your initial thoughts on it and just your perspective. And obviously the news that we now know today that Gary Lineker will be joining ITV tonight for the Germany-Ivory Coast game.
Love Island.
I will remind everyone is live on talkSPORT tonight at 9 p.m.
Absolutely.
But I think obviously a bit of a kick in the teeth for the BBC. Obviously Lineker was the flagship host for Match of the Day for decades and decades. Des Lynam's done this piece now. Cass, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, Lineker's doing a Netflix podcast as well, isn't he? With the World Cup, and got paid a nice sum of money to do it, and fair play to him. Look, the BBC are battling, and they've lost that ability to... look, an interesting point that Des makes at the end of the column is he said that England, when they progress and get to the latter stages, the ITV and the BBC will go head-to-head. He said, but the BBC will win on ratings. Because obviously, nearly everybody has a TV license. So it's an interesting one, but I think it's pretty obvious that ITV have won the sort of coverage. And I think the panels that ITV have had in the BBC,
I'd agree.
I think ITV have won that battle as well.
Yeah, I have to say, I've really enjoyed Emma Hayes' work that she's done with the ITV and doing the tactical breakdown that we saw in England.
I think it's great.
I think it's fun. And also with the ITV, 15.4 million people tuned in to watch England, Croatia on ITV. I mean, those are staggering numbers, obviously. But
yeah, it's it's a strange one because, like you said, the man Paul McNamara, who came in with the idea of, giving a lot of glamour. I think if you go when you do a broadcast from the UK, and you're seeing that America's the glamour country, isn't it? It's all about razzmatazz, and the BBC have lost that. They don't have that feel by being in Salford, where ITV have gone out and you're seeing the great backdrop, and that's where they've won. And that without the punditry thing, I think that's been a big thing.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Oscar, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. But just a reminder, talking about other coverage, we all know that talkSPORT's the home of the World Cup this summer. We've got some big, big games. I cannot wait for this one this evening, by the way. 6 o'clock, Netherlands, Sweden. That is going to be an absolute belter. Live on talkSPORT, presented by the voice of football, Adrian Durham. Commentary from the legendary duo of Jim Proudfoot and England captain Stuart Pearce, followed by another belter. I know I keep overusing this word, but these are top fixtures. Germany against Ivory Coast. Hugh Woozencroft presents with Kev Hatchard, our European expert, and former England striker, talkSPORT's very own Darren Bent. Fantastic coverage expected tonight. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast here on talkSPORT.
Now, earlier in the show, we asked the all-important question. Who was faster in their pomp? Kyle Walker or Gabby Agbonlahor? Well, talkSPORT's Anil Kandala was at the talkSPORT fan zone at Villa Park last night for England against Croatia, and he put that question to some of the fans in attendance.
It's a tough call, but I'd go for Gabby. He was awesome, and no defender wants anybody with that pace running at them. So I'd go for Gabby. I would.
Quicker than Kyle Walker?
I think so. Yeah, I do. And I'm sure Gabby would agree with me.
Gabby. Well, he used to dart across the field, didn't he? I think he's better than Kyle, to be honest.
Well, we had Kyle on loan for us for many years ago, and he was quick, but Gabby was quicker.
And there you go. It might be a little bit unfair because Gabby Agbonlahor is in that building behind me, but it seems that Gabby's got the vote.
Right, the rest of the world.
He actually spoke to about 100 people who were there, but we only decided to show 3. Okay,
I clipped that up for them.
Yeah.
Do you know what though? When I think about Kyle, when I go back to that game, Kyle, of like I think it might be Germany at Wembley, and you was right side of the 3, but like you was all the way in the right back position, and I was at the game, mate, and you come sprinting across, mate. Someone was through on goal. I can't remember who it was.
Muller.
It was Muller, yeah. I'm like, where has this guy come from? And you've done that for the last 15, 16 years, mate. Your centre-half pairings with England and Manchester City must have been looking at you thinking like, okay, maybe I can leave a bit of space in behind, because you would always just come out of nowhere and cover.
Yeah, I think that was what my game was based on. You know, I probably didn't create that much going forward with assists and stuff. I chipped in with a few, but not as much as probably what I should have done. So my main game when I got a little bit older was to make sure I can cover the back.
Incredible.
Here's a great suggestion. Jill's a regular contributor. She says, why not get both of them in the car park? Said, my money's on Kyle.
Just about, yeah.
You know football.
I'll have to kick him first.
In 1994, FIFA looked at the United States and said, yes, this is the perfect place for a World Cup. To the average US sports fan, a 0-0 draw sounded less like a sporting event and more like a coding error. The greatest show on earth coming to town would soon change that. Because it was America, they didn't just host the World Cup, they supersized it. The opening ceremony was like a Super Bowl halftime show and saw Diana Ross miss a penalty from 6 yards out, wide of a goal designed to collapse as the ball hit the net. Despite the miss, the goal collapsed anyway. Classic Hollywood. When the matches started, something weird happened. Americans actually showed up. Sure, half the crowd were probably wondering when the quarterbacks were coming on, but the energy was infectious. The cultural mashup was glorious. International fans arrived expecting traditional football fare and found stadiums pumping out star-spangled scoff snacks. For the US, nothing said the beautiful game quite like a processed platter. And the heat. Games were played in blistering midday sun to please European TV audiences. Players were practically melting on the pitch, while fans in the stands were getting sunburns shaped like replica jerseys. Can you imagine the tan lines if England were there? Nightmare. On the pitch, we got pure theatre. Bebeto's baby rocking celebration, Maradona's last international hurrah, and ultimately a final that ended in the most American way possible, a dramatic shootout, with Baggio launching his penalty straight into the California stratosphere. To this day, 1994 remains the most attended World Cup in history. The total for the 52 games, 3.5 million. That's an average of 68,000 per game. America didn't just survive the invasion of a foreign sport, it birthed Major League Soccer because of it. Beckham, Messi, they don't go if it wasn't for USA 94. Turns out all it took to hook the States on the world's game was a little bit of 90s magic and a whole lot of nacho cheese.
Good morning, this is the Weekend World Cup Breakfast on talkSPORT. I'm your host Max Scott, alongside me Millwall Hall of Famer Tony Cascarino, and in the early hours of the morning, history repeated itself for Scotland. They suffered another damaging World Cup defeat to Morocco thanks to Bayern Munich's new star Ismail Saibari.
Morocco try and play the ball through the middle. Graham Diaz has passed his man, chips it in. Oh, it's a fabulous goal. It was played through beautifully, and Ismail Sabani was at the edge of the box.
Yeah, Scotland take on Brazil, though, in that crucial final cup game next Wednesday from 11 p.m. live on talkSPORT. Elsewhere, Manchester United forward Matheus Cunha scored twice as Brazil comfortably overcame Haiti, who became the first team to be eliminated from this World Cup.
There are three coming forward, plays it through. That's a delightful ball. There's the chance for Cunha. It's a brilliant finish into the top corner. A slow dive and celebration. He doubles Brazil's lead. He doubles his own tally.
And Paraguay have knocked Turkey out of the World Cup thanks to a 1-0 win, which saw former Newcastle winger Miguel Almiron sent off for covering his mouth.
Number 10, Paraguay, cover his mouth. Decision is red card.
And the El Salvadorian referee sends off Miguel Almiron.
Oh, that is the funniest thing I've ever heard in a World Cup game. The El Salvadorian referee giving it full beans, angry substitute teacher vibes when he sends off Miguel Almiron. Unbelievable. Look, give us a call. Drop us a WhatsApp this morning. Text us on 81089 or 03717 223344 if you want to speak to Bromley's finest son, Tony Cascarino. This is the Weekend World Cup Breakfast on talkSPORT. Lovely stuff. Keep your texts coming in, 81089. We've been getting some interesting feedback on Ronaldo. Jill agrees. She says he's done so much in his last World Cup, but at the same time, he's got to be prepared to come off the bench. I don't see that happening. I don't know if Castors, we're going to get into that a little bit later on. But right, it's time now to get all the latest tournament action with Burger King.
The Breakfast Briefing on talkSPORT with Burger King Burger Buddies. Total tournament satisfaction delivered by the experts. Order now on the BK app.
American Express.
Save again. Ponto from close range. And Kyle Larrin is on target again for Canada.
They're starting to play a little bit of party football inside the box now. You can see that the confidence is well and truly up.
Jonathan David with his hat-trick. Third goal of the night for David. A sixth goal of the night for Canada.
Ball has been dropped by the South Korea goalkeeper. And Mexico have scored. Almost out of nothing. Mexico have done it with a game to spare.
It's almost like a short corner, this, for the USA. Robinson works it back to the edge of the area. Driven goalwards by Dest. Deflects in the air and headed in for two. Full-time whistle goes. And the USA, as co-hosts, are through to the knockout stages.
Yeah, tidy little start for the host nations in this World Cup. In the second round of fixtures, Canada beat Qatar 6-0. Mexico beat South Korea 1-0. And then the USA off to an absolute flyer, beating Australia 2-0. Cass, you been impressed with the host nation so far?
Yeah, well, hey, we got to be impressed with all the host nations.
Yeah.
You know, you think Canada, what they've done.
I know.
Okay.
Jesse Marsh promised the goals. And bagged 6.
I mean, I felt for the lad. Was it Kone for Canada?
Ismaila Kone,
terrible,
wow.
Terrible injury. But Mexico, USA, and obviously Canada have done brilliantly well. And but I was impressed with that song. Where on earth was that? I've never heard that song before.
Well, the song for the song we've just heard, American Express, I imagine it's called. Absolute, yeah.
No, I guess it was American Express, the name. What it's called.
DJ Jasper pulling the strings on the. He's doing well.
But no, they've been good. They've been really good. The host nations.
Let's talk about the USA, because I was thoroughly impressed with their opening win against Paraguay. We've seen Paraguay do the business against Turkey just now and seen how defensively strong they can be. They bagged 4 against them, and then they've gone and beaten Australia 2-0, which had become a bit of a rivalry, actually, on social media.
Yeah.
I know you're not on social media, but the Americans very cocky and arrogant heading into that, saying this game's an absolute layup. But from what we saw, totally controlled.
Well, yeah. Do you know what was me looking in from the outside? How about the Seattle Stadium? What a great stadium that is.
I know.
Look, Balogun has absolutely come alive. He didn't score last night, but he's so quick. Yeah. I mean, I've seen him quite often at Monaco, seen his performances. Obviously, he was at Arsenal as a young player. Born in America, but came to England as a very young, I think he was literally a baby when he came. And he's a real live wire. You can see why, he's got so much talent, because he's just so quick.
Yeah,
in a moment, he can be blisteringly quick. And they got people like Tim Ream there and Tim Robinson, experienced players that have been around the block. America worked their socks off. The USA, as Potter's got them playing, is a real dynamic, high-intensity pressing with an element of skill. A lot of players technically good in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
American soccer has improved a hell of a lot. It really has. And we've seen more American players go around. But if you look at the record over the history of football, host nations tend to do very well.
Yeah.
Whether it's South Korea, when they had the, World Cup, whether it was Argentina winning in their backyard, there's a lot of countries that have done very well when they're the host nation.
If you had to stick a quid on which of those host nations will go the furthest, who would you say?
Probably it's a tough one. I don't think it'll be Canada. I think it'd be more either USA or Mexico, and I'll probably give the nod to Mexico.
Would you?
Yeah.
See, I'd give it to the United States.
Yeah, they look
as much as that pains me to say.
Yeah,
because I mean, we discussed this last week. The amount of Americans now that are saying, they're going to go further than England, they're going to win the World Cup. I mean, just spare me a little bit. But you can understand why they're excited, because Pochettino, Cass, who there were some questions about and some a bit suspicion from American fans about how successful he'd be. He's really got them playing. He's got them playing it with some intensity and a bit of sort of metal about them. which I wouldn't always associate with the USA, but they've really announced themselves. And we heard in Tom's bulletin there some of the chants, not very imaginative, but they're chanting Poch's name. And credit to him for going in and doing a really good job, because there's so much pressure on him.
Yeah, well, look, he's been paid a lot of money to go there and revitalise or reignite the American game. And so far, being a host nation is the advantage of getting everybody on board and an incredible backing. You get caught up in the atmosphere. It's just the momentum just drives the team. That's why host nations do so well. I personally think that they will fall foul when they get to the knockout stages. They'll come up against a very savvy team. That won't matter that they're in their backyard. It won't matter to them. They'll go there and win it. Whether it's England, whether it's France, whether whoever, meet them along the way with some really organised side will give them a lot of problems. Morocco would beat the United States.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
And by the way, that I always look at the Ryder Cup and they're only chanting the Ryder Cup is USA, and that's about it.
I know. Yeah, they do need to work on their chant game.
Yeah.
You compare that to the Scots. You compare it to the English. I mean,
And
they're a long way off. But look, they're a younger nation. They've not been in football long. They've got a couple more decades, I think, to become a little bit more creative with some of their songs. But you talk about the knockout rounds, Cass. The USA as it stands, and I know it's as it stands, but it's just interesting to see. Because, you look at England as it stands. They've got Portugal, crikey Moses. Anyway, USA have got Bosnia and Herzegovina. You talk about momentum in a World Cup. If the Americans go and win all of their group games, which I'd probably say they will now because they've got Turkey who are already out, then they beat Bosnia. All of a sudden, they're in the last 16, and the whole nation's behind them.
Have you worked out that Bosnia are going to get through? Still...
Because I've got a document here, which is a FIFA World Cup schedule, right? And it's a tree. I'll show you it in the break.
Yeah.
But it shows, it just links it all together according to the group, how the groups are now. As it stands, USA have Bosnia.
Well, there's quite a number of teams that have only played one game.
There is, but just... I can stop using it, Cass, if you don't want. I thought it was a good little conversation.
Well, I just think if you'd have said that to me after 2 games, Max, that everyone had played 2 games, I'd have gone okay. But the fact that only half of them have played 2 games, or is there 4 nations?
But they have had some good.
4
fixtures.
groups have played 2 games.
They've drawn good teams. You look at the group they're in. They've done well for themselves. And if they get Bosnia, I'm going to start questioning whether this is rigged.
Well, we'll see, because there's a long way to go, but there's still a lot of games to be played in the knockout stages. And like I said, there's some teams that have played only 1 game, and the majority have only played 1 game. So we've seen others like Mexico, Canada, and they've played 2 games.
Right, I'm not referring to that document ever again. That was a roundup, all thanks to Burger King.
The Breakfast Briefing on talkSPORT with Burger King Burger Buddies. Iconic winners delivered in the box every time. Order now on the BK app.
Cass, bring me back down to earth live on a World Cup weekend breakfast. Next up, put the kettle on. We're going to enjoy our weekly cappuccino with Cascarino.
You get revenge on me.
You mentioned Perisic. They've got players in their side. Modric, they're the wrong side of 35, right? These players have been in their team for a long, long time. And we're not struggling, but the first 45, I'm watching it thinking, how is this happening again?
But also, you've got to think, right? I get what you're saying, but also, there's going to be a few nerves kicking about.
Yeah.
Right? These guys, as you said there, have been around for such a long time, so they just understand, they're comfortable where they are. Modric, Perisic, these guys, they just know what it takes to get to that, to get to that level. But it's. I think there's a lot of boxes that Thomas Tuchel would have ticked. I thought the team selection he got wrong. But in my personal,
who did you get wrong?
I would have started Rashford.
Yeah, me too.
And Mark Gay, he has to play. He has to play.
Talk about what you're saying outside about the balance of the centre halves.
Because John Stones, he naturally plays on the right hand side, right? And it's Maguire that usually plays on the left when it was those two. when you move John Stones out to the left, naturally he doesn't go that way to Nico O'Reilly, which is why he barely touched the ball. He couldn't go that way.
And Anthony Gordon hardly received the ball in the first
Exactly. Mark Gahey naturally plays on the left side. So he's used to receiving the ball from the right-hand side and going out to the left. But that just wasn't there, which is why we hardly saw anything down that left-hand side. But yeah, I would have started Mark Gahey and I would have started Rashford for sure. They would have been my first two on the not on the team sheet, but they're the two that I would have started with.
So you would have started with Rashford on the left. What about the other side? Would you have started with Noni?
Yeah, probably, because Saka, I'm not sure. I don't know how fit Saka is.
Okay. Looked good when he come on, though.
Really good. Looked like hungry.
Yeah.
But that's a good problem you've got. But at the end of the day, the quality shone through second half. Even though there were moments towards the end of the second half, before Rashford scored, I was thinking, oh my goodness, they're on top again. They're starting to move the ball. They're getting into their rhythm. Their substitutions made a big difference. But then Rashford comes on and just does what he does.
Yeah.
The sharp turn, the finish.
I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a problem that first 45 were a bit whiffy because you look at France. I was just about to say, look at France. I mean, they had a rocket up their backside. They're a completely different side in the second half.
Mbappe. Told you about him, didn't I? I said, how often do I sit you
Write his name down. He's going to be a player.
I told you that, Mbappe.
Yeah.
World Cups, he's different.
We were talking on yesterday's show actually about after that night where Haaland and Mbappe.
Good morning, you're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast live on talkSPORT on YouTube and of course on your smart TV. I'm your host Max Scott. I've got former Marseille striker Tony Cascarino alongside. And before we head to our next guest, we've got to talk about one of the major talking points from the 4 a.m. game this morning. Paraguay 1, Turkey 0. Turkey knocked out of the World Cup along with Haiti. And former Newcastle man Miguel Almiron briefly covered his mouth when he said something to Turkey's Mert Mulder, who immediately pointed out the Paraguay midfielder had committed the offence of covering his mouth. The referee went to the monitor and after a brief review produced a red card for Almiron, and it is one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
We know that in the new regulations, if you cover your mouth in communication, you will be shown a red card. He's not taken long to look at this.
Number 10, Paraguay, cover his mouth. Decision is red card.
And the El Salvadorian referee sends off Miguel Almiron. He covered his mouth towards Mert Mulder.
Oh, I cannot get over that referee. Absolutely giving it so much there. It's like something out of a mafia film. I can just imagine him with like a machine gun. After review. Anyway,
he's full on. Yeah.
It was brilliant, lovely bit of drama. So this is the first time in that we've seen that in the World Cup. What? Look, we don't know what was said. It looked, and of course we don't know. It looked quite innocuous. It looked very brief. Almiron was smiling, but the Turkey player's gone straight to the referee. We know they are the rules, Cass, but does it feel a little bit harsh?
It did feel a bit strange because, like you used the word there, it was very brief. It was like literally a second or two, and that was Almiron puts his hand over his mouth, and the Turkish player, immediately lets the referee know. And do you have to do that?
Yeah.
You know, and look, the rules are the rules, and we're all playing by the so-called laws of the game. That he has to send him off. No one knows what was said, so we'll have to wait on that one to see if that was part of the reason. But the fact that you don't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
If you put your hand over your mouth, you can be red carded.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mothy D's got in touch and he said, are you allowed to cover your mouth when talking to a teammate at a free kick? Or is it only if it's aimed at the opposition.
Well, it's meant to be with aggression, isn't it?
Yeah.
They say if you cover your mouth and your tone or the way you're acting is in aggressive. That was the reason. I didn't see Amaran being aggressive. I just see him covering his mouth, and the Turkish player has just literally gone straight to literally pointed to the ref. He's covered his mouth, and then sort of, it's like a player showing the yellow card to a referee, except for he covers his mouth and says he's covered his mouth.
And one thing that we do know is the referee didn't instigate any protocol around foul play or discriminatory language. He's just gone straight to the monitor, sent him off. So it would seem, we don't know the full picture yet, it would seem that Miguel Almiron's just covered his mouth and said something.
Yeah.
And the Turkey players just like grassed him up.
Let him know. Yeah, he's grassed him. Absolutely. He's just literally gone to the referee. He's done this. And the referee's been forced to go to the monitor because he has to.
Because it's the letter of the law.
Because that was one of the rules that were put in place before the tournament.
It's a strange one. It's a strange one.
And like the listener, said on text that if you're talking to a colleague and you cover your mouth, that's all okay.
Yeah, blurry lines.
When I saw that originally before the tournament started, I was like, that's a strange rule. Now, I get it if something is heard and is said and look, we said we have to have the context of how it's happened and what's come about, and we're going to need to know a bit more. But unfortunately, we don't. By the laws, you don't even have to know anymore. The fact he's covered his mouth, that's it.
I know you got to feel for Big Almiron a little bit. As long as he's sort of kept it all clean and he's just happened to cover his mouth, his World Cup
strange.
Could be over. Text in 81089. What do you think about that Miguel Almiron red card, and what do you make of the El Salvadorian referee giving it 100% in that announcement? It is the best. That's my favourite part of the World Cup this morning. I've got to say, I came into the office. I was a bit tired. It took me a long time to get out of bed this morning. I've had a week of early starts. That clip alone filled me with glee, Cass. I've been laughing all morning about it. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Yeah, we'll make sure that we play it another time in the show. So keep your text coming in, 81089. You can always give us a call, 03717 223344. But time now for a bit of MotoGP, because Team Ducati head to the Czech GP at Brno with serious momentum after winning 3 of the last 5 races, setting up a thrilling battle against grid favourites Aprilia. All eyes are on the championship fight, where Aprilia's Marco Bezzecchi holds a 20-point lead over teammate Jorge Martin. It's live over on talkSPORT 2 tomorrow from 1 p.m. Here to tell us more is former world champion racer Neil Hodgson. Good morning, Neil.
Hi, Neil.
Hey, how are you doing, guys? Listening to what you're talking about about the football, and I can't cope with it. Do you know what I can't cope with? I can't cope with. It's like being at junior school telling tales. Miss, did you see this? It's the World Cup. You've worked all your life to get there. You eventually get there, and all of a sudden you've been red carded because you've covered your mouth. I can't cope. Thankfully, in our sport, we don't have any of this nonsense going on. It's a proper sport where the best man wins. You're risking life and limb. None of this nonsense. Honestly, I can't deal with it.
Well, to be honest, they can't put their hand over their mouth when they're doing motorsport, can they?
No, well, you've got your helmet on anyway, so you can probably get away with anything. But no, I mean, that has shocked me this morning. I thought I'd seen it all.
Yeah. Neil, just while we're on this, what's the closest you get to communicating with your rivals on the track? Like, can you give him a little elbow, a little nudge? Like what's the closest you get to a bit of S-housery while you're racing?
What slowly, I will say now, just to backtrack a bit, what's slowly creeping into our sport is during practice sessions. Essentially, what happens in practice sessions is some of the slower riders are trying to follow the fast riders, and every now and again, they might be wandering around on the racing line, and you'll get one of the faster riders will gesticulate to say, whoa, hang on, did you see this? He balked me on one of my fast laps. So that's creeping in. But this might not surprise you. It seems to be more the Italian and Spanish riders doing this. So the arm waving's ever so slightly creeping into our sport, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're good gesticulators, aren't they, the Italians? You've got to love it.
Yeah.
Tell us... with the World Championship up for stakes, and it's a tricky scenario, isn't it? Because two riders are for the same team. So how does that going to pan out? Do you think, Neil?
Yeah, do you know, it's really interesting because we're talking about Aprilia at the moment, which have produced the best motorcycle this year. They've not been in this position before. They've not won a MotoGP world title. So 2 teammates going for the title, they look like they've got quite a big advantage. There's still 14 rounds to go, including this weekend. So there's still lots of points up for grabs. But essentially what happens when you've got 2 teammates going for it, Normally, you'd give them a fair run at it. But at the end of the year, one of the riders, Jorge Martin's, leading the team. So you can't help but feel, as we get closer to the end of the season, that Aprilia will maybe, I'm not going to say this, but maybe look more towards the Italian rider, Marco Bezzecchi. They might help him a little bit more, but I'm not going to say that will happen, but you sort of couldn't blame Aprilia if that did happen later on in the season.
No, without a doubt. You see that in Formula One as well, and I think it makes sense. Can you look? You mentioned when you came on about how, you know, MotoGP riders do genuinely risk life and limb, and you see the racing, you see how close it is, you see how dangerous it is. Talk to us about the track. It's the Czech Grand Prix. I'm told it's demanding, undulating, up and down. What can we expect live on talkSPORT tomorrow?
Oh, honestly, this track was built for MotoGP bikes. It's wide, it's fast, it's flowing. Some of the circuits we go to, if I'm going to be honest, a 300 brake horsepower MotoGP bike has almost outgrown the smaller circuits, but not the Brno track. Like you say, it's undulating, so you go up and down this beautiful valley just on the outskirts of Brno. There's loads of overtaking opportunities. There's some decent straights, which basically create slipstream, which means the bikes stay closer together. In the past, we've had some classic races around here. So honestly, I'm not just saying it because it's my job, but genuinely, I think the race this afternoon, the sprint race, is going to be amazing. And then tomorrow, 3 races, Moto3, Moto2, and obviously the main race, MotoGP, will be outstanding. It doesn't get any better than this place. Like I said, this track was built for the MotoGP bikes.
Neil, absolutely love it. You're getting me revved up for it, literally. Brilliant stuff, mate. Enjoy. Looking forward to the action this weekend. Take care, mate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Bye. That is former world champion racer Neil Hodgson. A reminder, live this Sunday, the Czechia MotoGP is live on talkSPORT 2 at 1 p.m. The riders are set. The pressure is real. Hear the engines roar for yourself. Watch MotoGP from Silverstone. You can book now. Experience MotoGP for real life. And you can watch every practice, qualifying and race exclusively live on TNT Sports. But coming up, we're going to look ahead to some huge games in this World Cup, including the Netherlands taking on an in-form Sweden. You are listening to the Weekend World Cup Breakfast at the home of the World Cup, talkSPORT.
We were just chatting off air about Terry Venables and Euro 96. You're getting Euro 96 vibes already.
Well, I'm getting England-Holland Euro 96 vibes, 100%, you know, because, you know, I was very fortunate enough to know Terry, as I'm sure you two did. And, you know, I asked him about that game. We used to do a show together on Saturdays on the radio about football. And, you know, he said, I just threw 7 forwards on. Everybody could play in attack. Even the sort of back 4 were very sort of front-footed thinking. And he said, you know, don't worry about how many goals they're going to score. Just score more goals than them. And then you have them on the back foot and they can't get out of their own half anyway. Yeah. And you were there for England-Holland at Wembley Stadium. I was there when the scoreboard said England 4, Holland 0. I mean, they did score a goal, but we did see 4-0 for a while. And last night was very, very reminiscent of that, you know, and they talk about total football. That was as close as we got. And, you know, I'm fascinated by managers and what they say and what makes the difference between an Alex Ferguson and an Arsene Wenger and a Thomas Tuchel compared to the others. Ancelotti, I know you're a big fan of, and he's been on the show.
Yeah.
And it's great, isn't it, what Harry... Because Harry... The thing about Tuchel is he's just saying what he thinks, even right before the game. You know, he's saying, well, we're going to do this because they're going to do that. And if they're watching, they know what he's going to do. But he's so organised in a way that's sort of, you know, quite off-putting for the opposition, I would imagine. And then Harry Kane does a Thomas Tuchel after the match because he tells you exactly what Tuchel told them at half time, which was basically, lads, I thought we had a deal here. You're gonna play like you don't care, like you're back in the playground. You know, And in the first half, you didn't do that. Boys, you know, we had an agreement. Can we just go out and do that? And they all went, oh, yeah, we remember. And they just went out, and it was just a different game. And I was, as you can hear, I was very excited about it. We all were very excited about it. And this morning, there's this whole sense of relief and release. And now we're looking forward to next week and Tuesday. And it's like, you know, it might be coming home.
Good morning, how are we on what is set to be an absolute El Scorchio weekend? Heatwave coming in, 36 daggers next Tuesday. Wow! Looking forward to the sunshine creeping through these clouds here in London. I'm your host, Max Scott. Alongside me, got former Nancy striker Tony Cascarino on the Weekend World Cup Breakfast Show. And some of your headlines this morning, in case you missed it, talkSPORT understands that Marcus Rashford is reportedly in injury doubt to face Ghana in England's next World Cup clash. Brazilian World Cup legend Ronaldinho is back in club football with Italian Serie C side Ravenna in an off-field role. And Spurs have confirmed the signing of Brighton defender Jean-Paul Van Hecke for £52 million, returning to play under his former manager Roberto De Zerbi. Brighton boss Fabian Hertzler, who's part of talkSPORT's star-studded World Cup team, spoke on White and Jordan yesterday, and he says he wishes the Dutch defender well.
Very pleased. I think Jean-Paul has been outstanding for us. So he developed into one of the best centre-backs in the league through hard work, through consistency, and through a fantastic mentality. And and we as a club, we are grateful for everything he gave to Brighton. And of course, we will miss him. While we'll miss him, we wish him all the best for him, for his career, and of course also for his family.
Fabian Hertzler speaking to White and Jordan there, reacting to the fact that he's lost his defender Jean-Paul Van Hecke. He's gone to Spurs for 52 million quid, Cass.
Yeah, and do you know what was really refreshing? When you listen to a manager there who's actually accepting that's the model of the football club and wishing him all the best. And there's no, anger there of a player's just got up and gone.
Yeah, touch of class, I think.
It's a bit,
Hertzler.
We've sold him and he's done brilliant for us. And hopefully he'll have a great future with Spurs. and move on.
Well, he's probably pretty confident, to be fair. Probably pretty confident
I'm
that,
sure.
that Brighton and Tony Bloom know exactly what they're doing and who they've got coming in the other end.
It's just quite refreshing to hear a manager, Hertzler, talking in that manner.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you talk about the replacement, Cass. The replacement, it reportedly, could be Luka Vuskovic, who would be going the other way from Spurs to Brighton. Yeah. Vuskovic, it's an interesting one, Cass, because he's never actually played a game for Spurs. He's been on loan, and he was on loan at Hamburg last season in the Bundesliga. He's one of the top 50 rated players in the world, players, not just defenders. Are you surprised that Spurs have gone 52 million big ones for a Brighton defender when they know they've got a player who's, lots of teams are interested in, including Brighton?
Yeah, look, Spurs have gone down the potential road quite often in the last few years, and I think they want a few more proven. And I think they're looking, I think De Zerbi's saying, let's get this first team really right, as good as we can make them, stronger, and then we can then produce players for the future more. That doesn't mean we won't do potential great signings down the line, but at the moment, we need to have a great first team. That's how I see it.
No, that's a good point. And you look at how flimsy Spurs have been. They've lacked a backbone. Yeah, this is a signing that they know is going to perform.
One of the most astonishing things that I thought De Zerbi done was he dropped their best player, which was Archie Gray. And he was a young lad, and because he said, I can't find a position, or he doesn't quite know his right position. But he's gone for experienced players instead towards the end of the season that kept him up. And Archie Gray was their best player until he got dropped.
No, well said. It's a good point. A reminder, we're going to chat more transfers and more reaction from inside the USA camp with our man Ben Jacobs a little bit later on. But now it's time to look ahead on high-pressure picks with Shaw.
High pressure picks on talkSPORT with Shaw. Non-stop protection deodorant that won't ever let you down.
Yeah, tonight, live on talkSPORT, the Netherlands play their second game against Graham Potter's Sweden. Sweden, of course, top of Group F after dominating Tunisia, whilst the Dutch dropped a 2-goal lead in an absolute belter of a game to draw 2-2 with the Japanese. 3 points very much needed for Ronald Koeman's side, and delighted now to welcome in Dutch football expert Marcel van der Kraan. Marcel, welcome, good morning. How are you doing?
Morning, gents. Yeah, all ready for tonight's game.
Absolutely, it's going to be a great game. Sweden were on fire, obviously against Tunisia, so they've got sterner opponents in the Netherlands. What do you make first of all of that draw against Japan, who obviously really well organised, good team?
Well, last night, while we were sleeping, Ronald Koeman was doing a press conference with the Dutch media, and he was confronted with his very defensive substitutes. We were 2-1 up, and he put the handbrake on. And in the style of Dutch football, that is not really what we want. We thought, keep going, keep it, nice and attacking, and finish them. Instead, he drew back, brought a few defenders on, and Koeman admitted, maybe next time that will be different. It's not what we wanted, and the players, well, they claimed they were happy with Koeman's substitutes, but it's always a case of if you say something against the coach, do you actually play in the next match? So I think they were very loyal. Cody Gakpo was one of them.
Marcel, answer me this, because one thing I look at the Dutch forward line, excuse me, and I look and I think Gakpo, Somerville and Marlon, and I'm thinking they're nowhere near the level of other great international forward lines. Is that a fair point, or do you think I'm being a bit, I'm not being very generous towards the Dutch?
No, you're absolutely spot on. It's been our main concern over the last, 1 or 2 years. Where are the big strikers? We used to be in a luxury position with the likes of Bergkamp, Kluivert, Van Nistelrooy, Van Basten, even further down, Gullit. And now, what do we have? Memphis, he is our all-time goal scorer, yes. Yeah. But he has played a lot of caps, but maybe not against all the big countries. And he's hardly ever been top fit in a World Cup, in a European Championship. And this is where the worry is for our attack in this continuous World Cup. Can he live up to the expectations? So far, Koeman's not even started him. And I doubt it if he will start him tonight. He claims he's fit again after a kind of half season in Brazil. But the way Memphis Depay came on as a substitute in the last game against Japan doesn't give you confidence he's going to do something for us. Marlon had a great season in a half season in Italy, scored 14 goals in 6 months. He was on fire, but he's not doing it yet in the Dutch team. And Summerfield, well, he had a difficult season with West Ham, but he did lighten up the play. So it's more based on hope than on credentials of top players, as you rightly point out there.
Well, Sweden have got an incredible forward line. Which how's it been deemed this game? Because it looks a very dangerous game for the Dutch, where you could get turned over because of the type of strikers they've got. And a Yari, that's a young lad, 22, that's a Brighton, but he's coming to the Swedish team along with Isaac and Gyökeres. So there's a lot of threat from Sweden.
Well, that certainly is. And we've described it that we're playing against the team of Harry Potter, not of Graham Potter, because if you see what Potter has done, the way they've come back into the final rounds of the World Cup, don't forget, they were the last in that group stage of qualifying. They came through the back door, through this Nations League ticket, back into the playoffs, and suddenly beat Poland in the last game. It was miraculous what Potter's done there. And if you also notice that they have got their two big forwards back in shape, Alexander Isak, probably not the most worn-out Premier League player of this season, and Gyökeres, who's come in with the Premier League title in his backpack, giving him lots of confidence. If you see what they did in that first game, yeah, there is work on the floor for Jan-Paul van Hekken and Virgil van Dijk there in defence. So maybe assisted by Mickey van der Ven, who's also in the limelight over the last 24 hours here, because there are strong stories in our newspapers here that he could be joining Barcelona. There is a big hiccup. They've not been able to renew his contract yet. The talks have been going on for months and months, and now Barcelona have seriously knocked on the door of his agent.
Wow, interesting. That's fascinating. It'd be interesting to see what happens with that one. Marcel, look, in 2022, you got to the quarterfinal against Argentina. It was a classic game. I think if my memory serves me correctly, it ended on penalties. There was a bit of argy-bargy after the game. How do you think this side compares to the one that got to that quarterfinal in 2022, and how far realistically do you think the Netherlands can go?
Well, if everybody had been on board with players fit, I think we would have been a little bit further. I would still not class us as potential world champions, but Ronald Koeman's had a few hiccups in the build-up to this World Cup. If you look at Jurrien Timber, he had to drop out at the last minute, and Timber would have certainly played and would have been a brilliant player next to Virgil van Dijk. A different player for Jan-Paul van Hekken. Van Hekken is doing great, but he's a man marker, he's a stopper, and Timber is a real Dutch kind of footballer. Well, yesterday, his twin brother, Quinten, had to pull out with a concussion from training. Other players, Xavi Simons from Spurs, had to pull out because of an injury. Matthijs de Ligt. There are too many, casualties on the way. And Koeman, if you also look at Memphis Depay's fitness, Koeman's had to make a lot of little juggling choices there to see how can I get the right team. Maybe I should select the most fit players and not always the best players. And I think we still have a bit of work to do in this World Cup.
Yeah, well, Marcel, thank you, because it's been really good. My favourite team, the Dutch of '88, we played them in the Euros, where you had Van Basten, Rijkaard, Gullit, and I've got the same. I'm exactly the same age and the same birthday as Ruud Gullit.
There you go. But
1st of September.
But just more famous. Yeah, and better looking.
And I've got a picture in my house of me, Frank Rijkaard, and Gullit challenging for a ball. Marcel, it's my favourite picture.
Well, I can imagine, because I was there. I used to come up with you guys in the garden.
What about the atmosphere at the game when Ireland played Holland? It was the most colourful game I've ever been at, and with the Dutch fans and the Irish fans at each end. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a brilliant days in those days, and you know, Keith is still being reminded of this goal every week, every month, wherever he turns on television, where he had that lucky header from Koeman's kind of missed shot, and it was the narrowest escape for us ever, probably in a big tournament.
Marcel,
Great stuff, Marcel.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, mate. Hopefully we'll catch up a little bit later on in the tournament.
Cheers, guys.
Marcel.
Brilliant. That is Dutch football expert Marcel van der Kraan.
Do you know the tallest people in the world?
Tallest people?
Generation. Just.
Oh, no, what? Who?
It's the Dutch.
Is it? Well, I'll give them a run for their money.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Me and you could pass for Dutch.
No, yeah, you'd be more, Max. You're more. But apparently, by average, they are the tallest people in the nation.
There you go. Facts, figures, everything from Newcastle this morning. That was a look ahead with Shaw. Non-stop protection deodorant that won't ever let you down.
High pressure picks on talkSPORT with Shaw, official sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
Right, you're listening to the Weekend World Cup Breakfast on talkSPORT. Up next, we're going to get more Scotland reaction to last night's defeat to Morocco.
Simon, from Southgate to Tuchel, was this the front-footed difference that you have been wishing?
Oh, definitely. I mean, for a number of reasons, for the reasons that Brad's laid out in terms of the substitutions, from the manner in which this is rock and roll football. This is what we saw with Jurgen Klopp in the second half. Interesting that Tuchel needs to have a reinforcement at half-time, because you would have assumed that conversation had happened before the game and that they were told to get on the front foot before the game. And England looked quite nervous when they started, and they weren't, for the first 5 or 10 minutes, I thought they weren't really at it. You know, I think the performance in the second half, I was sitting next to Brad, and he was saying to me, and I think I'm right in quoting him, is that this is the best attacking performance that we've seen in the World Cup so far, in terms of the way that they put it upon the Croatians. Whatever we may have created in the media about how old this Croatian team is, Troy was saying to me off air that the average age of the Croatians is 28 and a half, whereas our team is 27. We've been walking around under the impression this is a dad's army, just because you've got Luka Modric. So they're not mugs. You know, I think we could have done better with the goals, but notwithstanding that, you know, whatever lessons we think we need to learn defensively, Tuchel will learn them and they'll make some adjustments. But offensively, if you look at that performance, that is as good as you want an England side to play. It's as good as an England side has played on the front foot for a very, very long time. And you look at it, and 4-2 flatters the Croatians to some extent, because England could have had 6 in the second half. So I think it's a great marker. It's a great start to the tournament. It's what the public will want to see. Tuchel is hiding his light behind a bushel, because I would imagine he was very strong in the dressing room at half-time to wake a few people up, because you saw it, they came out of the traps like men possessed. Yeah. You know, the perfect cure to a goal just before half-time is a goal directly after half-time. And that's exactly what England got.
I also thought as well, sorry, I know you've got to go to break.
No problem.
But you know, now you see so many managers say buzzwords. Yeah. And he's talking about being aggressive, being on the front foot. He actually means it, doesn't he? You get that sense of, when he say we're on the front foot and be brave, if we make this mistake, it's on me. It's not on you, lads. So I think when a manager's that aggressive in what he says and believes it, it's easier for the players there, because you know, ultimately, if we fail, we've all failed, and he's not going to throw me under the bus.
Yes, good morning. This is the Weekend Breakfast live on talkSPORT, on the radio, on YouTube, on your smart TV. I'm Max Scott, and lurking at the back post. I think that's just a bit sinister, that lurking.
No, I love lurking at the back post.
But would you not be, I don't know, sort of commanding? Do you know what I mean? Lurking.
Okay.
Do you know what I think you deserve better.
Yeah, I loved attacking at the far post. I loved attacking the ball.
Yeah.
You know,
attacking in late run, beat the offside trap, Tony Cascarino. That's better. Right, some of your headlines this morning. Scotland were denied at least one penalty as hopes of creating history at the World Cup suffered a blow, losing 1-0 against top side Morocco. Elsewhere, Wyndham Clark holds a commanding 4-shot lead at the halfway stage of the US Open as Rory McIlroy lost ground after a rollercoaster second round at Shinnecock Hills. Is that
Shinnecock?
What? Shinnecock. Yep. And talkSPORT's Will Hobbs has been speaking to fans, getting their reaction, Scottish fans getting reaction after that loss against Morocco last night. Here it is.
We seem to kind of revert back to a little bit of the negativity. So, the starting 11, I think the formation and the tactics weren't really positive at all.
What would you change?
The formation. I think going with 5 defenders essentially wasn't it, and no wingers. It's never worked for us in the past, and we've just reverted back to it. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the manager just going, looking at Morocco and thinking we should probably sit in. But it's literally, everyone saw it in the second half. The minute we actually pushed them and went more direct, got Garen Doku on, we started getting stuff out of the game, and we're probably far better in the second half than Morocco. But now we're taking it to the last game in typical Scottish fashion. Everyone's going to be stressed out. We're going to start losing hair. Everyone's going to start going grey. Usual for us, but there is still a chance.
Will Hobbs there, and Will's laughing himself, but when you're standing there doing an interview with a guy with a pint in his hand, who's clearly worse for wear, and he's giving his tactical...
Absolutely inspired from that fellow. Like a half-time team talk. That was about 5 minutes of that, wasn't it? He's got solving all the problems. Steve Clark's tactics about 9 pints deep. But yeah, great work from Will Hobbs.
What do you think went wrong? You know, then gives all the formation, tactical, and he's clearly worse for wear.
Bless him. Yeah, I don't know if you were watching on Smart TV there, but yeah, he was worse for wear, bless him. But right, now you'll remember, Cass, last week, we had an incredible conversation with former England captain Lewis Moody live on the show.
Yes.
Taking part in a 500-mile charity bike ride from Newcastle to Twickenham following his motor neuron disease diagnosis last year. Inspirational stuff, and he was been joined by family, large group of great rugby greats as well. Moody's raising vital funds for the My Name's Doddy Foundation across a grueling 7-day trek. The riders arrive at the Allianz Stadium today to deliver the official match ball ahead of the Gallagher Prem final. Let's get an update on this. Plus, a bit of Scotland chat too from 2-time Gallagher Prem winner, former Scottish international Kenny Logan. Morning, Kenny.
Hi, Kenny.
Listen, 3-time.
3? Oh, look at that. That is not my fault.
Jesus.
That's important, mate.
Sack the production staff.
Especially when you get older and your kids say to you, did you ever play in the Gallagher Premiership, Dad? I'm like, what?
I know.
Kenny, look, let's talk. We'll get to Scotland in a minute, but you have been among a great group of people joining Lewis on this incredible journey. Just give us a bit of an insight into how it's been.
It's been very emotional. The love for Lewis all round the UK has been incredible.
Yeah.
We started in Newcastle, obviously English World Cup winner, and every destination we've got to, there's hundreds and sometimes thousands of people cheering us in. It has been incredible. I think we all know how brutal M&D is, and at every station there's been a lot of M&D patients coming out. Some people coming out saying they've never been out for a year since they've been diagnosed because they weren't brave enough to come out. And what they've said is Lewis has given them that courage. And the fact that he's standing up to take fight of the M&D, trying to raise awareness, but also as much revenue as possible, because it's an underfunded disease. And the more and more you do things for this community, the more and more you realise we've got to try and have a big change in revenue. We need to try and hit some big numbers to find that research to help these people, because there's 5 people every day diagnosed and die with MND in the UK.
Yeah. Well, Kenny, I can honestly say Lewis came on with me and Max last week, and I thought he was so positive on, and the way he conducted himself, it was just absolutely brilliant. I thought he just showed great leadership characteristics, of him as a person.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think, even in the room last night when you've got Martin Johnson, Johnny Wilkinson, Jason Robinson, just to name a few, right? And the emotions and the tears that has happened this week. We went to Oakham School, which was incredible. They named the first team pitch after Lewis. And as Lewis said very well this week, he didn't want to be in this position, but he feels honoured that he's been given this role to try and fight this disease, and that just tells you a lot about the guy. Your captain England, he's an absolute warrior of individual. And when he started this week, I've got to be honest with you, most people thought he would struggle to get through the day. He's done every mile. Incredible. Every mile. And it's been emotional, and to say that there's been a lot of tears. Yeah. I even saw Martin Johnson with a tear in his eye. It's been very touching, and it's hard when you see somebody, obviously Doddy and now Lewis. It's pretty tough for the rugby community, but we come together and we need to make an impact.
Yeah, I was going to make that point, Kenny. What's really inspiring for me, just as a rugby fan, as an armchair rugby fan, is just how the togetherness and the sort of collective work that the rugby community are doing, particularly for Doddy's Foundation, which has been doing amazing work for years. And I can imagine it was incredibly moving, sort of spending time with Lewis, who's just been the most inspirational bloke in the country, and what he's achieved. But I've got to ask, Kenny, because I can hear a husk in your voice. Now, is that an onset of a sore throat, or is that to do with Scotland playing in the World Cup yesterday or this morning?
There's a bit of tiredness because we did 10 hours in the seat yesterday and we were pretty dehydrated. It was hot, but I did stay up and watch the game, yeah.
And what do you make? Were you robbed of a penalty? Because I thought you were, Kenny.
What's the point of having VAR when you don't look at it? I mean, it's stupid. I mean, they give VAR so much stick, and it's a clear penalty. I think it was a clear penalty.
I agree.
We're a bit tougher in the rugby world, you know what I mean? But it was definitely a clear penalty. And I thought the second half we played miles better because we started attacking them. We were sitting off in the first half. We need to go at them. You're at a World Cup. You're there to play. You got to go at them. Yeah. And hopefully, I'm actually heading to the Brazil game on Tuesday. So I'm looking forward to heading out to Miami to watch that game. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure your voice will be even more huskier than on Friday morning.
Probably.
Kenny, I've just got to ask you one quick one. Obviously, Gallagher Prem, you got the league leading Saints there, of course, entering as favourites. You got Exeter at Twickenham. I refuse to call it the Allianz. Just talk to me. What do you expect this to be like? Henry Pollock special?
Yeah, I mean, I love Henry Pollock. He's a good friend of ours. He's a showman. I think Henry will obviously have a good game. Northampton have got too much firepower. I think they'll win by 20 points. I think it'll be a great day. I think Exeter will turn up and they'll be passionate. But I think man for man, Northampton are the best team by far.
Yeah.
And they've been the best team in the whole league this season. They've beaten teams, smashed teams, big name. They beat Bristol by 90 points. And when they get going, and the weather's going to be good, so I think they'll smash.
Yeah, I agree with you. Up the Saints, they're my team. I'm from Notts, Kenny, so I can't support Leicester. So the only Midlands team for me to support is Saints. Kenny Logan, absolute pleasure. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Kenny.
Amazing work from you this week.
Cheers. And
raising vital
if you can't
funds.
support the foundation, please do it for us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Kenny Logan, 3-time Gallagher Prem winner, Scotland legend, raising vital funds for MND, the My Name's Doddy Foundation, back in at Lewis Moody doing this incredible bike ride, 500 miles, despite that MND diagnosis. Amazing stuff. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast. Loads to come.
I were talking about that in great detail on yesterday's show, about whether or not he should start, how much game time he should have. Because it's Cristiano Ronaldo, I think there's so much pressure on the manager, Roberto Martinez, to pick him, to start him, etc. What's your view on a situation like that? What do you do, Rio?
Well, Roberto Martinez is paid the money to make this decision, and I think it's the way that he handles that it will be key. I think if he was going to attempt to kind of take Cristiano Ronaldo out of the team, I think it's all about the narrative. I think it's all about approaching him and going, listen, if he thinks this is how I'll do it. We've got a better chance of winning it for you coming on with 30 minutes to go when the opposition are tired, when their limbs are all weary, lactic acid is building up in all these players' legs, and they see Cristiano Ronaldo warming up on the side, and you come on and terrorise them and capitalise on that in the latter stages of the games. Do you think anyone's going to be bothered when you lift that trophy as our captain? No. So here we go. You're going to start some games, but then some you're not going to start, but that's part of the plan. And at 41 years old, I'm sure that Cristiano would understand that because, listen, we all know, Benny, you're the same. When we were getting older, things weren't working as quickly, as smoothly as they once were. But there's no denying the guy's potent. When the ball drops in the box, if you had three players to the top 3 players in the world for the ball to drop to, he'd be one of the guys you wanted to drop to even still now because he's that potent. He's got almost 1,000 goals. But listen, if it was down to me, I think I would take that same approach I just mentioned there. I'd pull him in and out of games depending on the opponents. And I'd just have to make sure that I talk to him and make sure he understands that. But one thing I would say when I watched him, I think a lot of blame and a lot of people are pointing the finger at Cristiano. I don't think the actual service into him was great either, by the way, or an opportunity to put his...
In 1994, FIFA looked at the United States and said, yes, this is the perfect place for a World Cup. To the average US sports fan, a 0-0 draw sounded less like a sporting event and more like a coding error. The greatest show on earth coming to town would soon change that. Because it was America, they didn't just host the World Cup, they supersized it. The opening ceremony was like a Super Bowl halftime show and saw Diana Ross miss a penalty from 6 yards out, wide of a goal designed to collapse as the ball hit the net. Despite the miss, the goal collapsed anyway. Classic Hollywood. When the matches started, something weird happened. Americans actually showed up. Sure, half the crowd were probably wondering when the quarterbacks were coming on, but the energy was infectious. The cultural mashup was glorious. International fans arrived expecting traditional football fare and found stadiums pumping out star-spangled scoff snacks. For the US, nothing said the beautiful game quite like a processed platter. And the heat. Games were played in blistering midday sun to please European TV audiences. Players were practically melting on the pitch, while fans in the stands were getting sunburns shaped like replica jerseys. Can you imagine the tan lines if England were there? Nightmare. On the pitch, we got pure theatre. Bebeto's baby rocking celebration, Maradona's last international hurrah, and ultimately a final that ended in the most American way possible, a dramatic shootout, with Baggio launching his penalty straight into the California stratosphere. To this day, 1994 remains the most attended World Cup in history. The total for the 52 games, 3.5 million. That's an average of 68,000 per game. America didn't just survive the invasion of a foreign sport, it birthed Major League Soccer because of it. Beckham, Messi, they don't go if it wasn't for USA 94. Turns out all it took to hook the States on the world's game was a little bit of 90s magic and a whole lot of nacho cheese.
Good morning, how are we? Hope you're well. Sun's almost coming out, set to be an absolute scorcher over the weekend into early next week. 36 degrees. Not going to be able to cope. I'm your host, Max Scott, alongside former Republic of Ireland striker Tony Cascarino, and Bayern Munich's new star Ismail Saibari burst Scotland's bubble, scoring Morocco's only goal in their 1-0 win over the Tartan Army.
Morocco try and play the ball through him. Graham Diaz has passed his man, chips it in. Oh, it's a fabulous goal. It was played through beautifully, and Ismail Sabari was at the edge of the box.
Scotland take on Brazil in their crucial final group game next Wednesday from 11 p.m. live on talkSPORT. Brazil comfortably overcame Haiti 3-0, who became the first team to be eliminated from this World Cup. Real Madrid star Vinicius Jr. grabbed his second goal of the tournament.
And a ball over the top. Vinicius Jr. comes through, ball on the right foot, scores! Slides the ball under the goalkeeper and perhaps should have done better. But it's back-to-back goals in the World Cup for Vinicius Jr. And Brazil are having fun in Philadelphia.
And despite having 62 shots, yes, 62, after just 2 games, Turkey became the first European nation to be eliminated from the World Cup thanks to a 1-0 defeat to Paraguay.
And there's the final whistle, and they've done it. They've done it. Paraguay have got the win against the odds, and they've sent Turkey packing from the World Cup 2026.
Big night for Paraguay in the World Cup. Give us a call, drop us a WhatsApp message this morning. You can text us on 81089 or give us a bell 0371722 3344. You're listening to the Weekend World Cup Breakfast here on talkSPORT. Okay, we're going to chat a little bit more about the USA, who of course played last night. They've started the second game week of this World Cup with an absolute bang. They secured a place in the last 32 with consecutive wins at the World Cup for the first time since 1930, by the way, the first ever official World Cup, as they beat Australia 2-0 with a dominant, high-energy performance in front of a sellout crowd in Seattle. Now, before we welcome our first guest, we thought it'd be good just to show some of what our very own fishmonger Ben Jacobs has been getting up to on his travels in the US.
Are you ready? Ready. One for talkSPORT! One for talkSPORT! Okay, we're going to throw this back, and I'm being told I've got to aim for his face, and I shall back Jack. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Back, Jack! One for the World Cup! One for the World Cup!
So, if you're listening on the radio, that is talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs at fever pitch, throwing a fish. Dead or alive, don't know. Sorry, the animal rights activist, but it's obviously common practice where he is in the US, throwing a fish in front of a frenzied crowd in the World Cup. And I'm delighted to say that our very own Ben Jacobs is with us. Ben, welcome. Can you just explain what on earth was going on there, mate?
Well, obviously, I was auditioning to be the US men's national team #1 with a catch like that. It was funny, actually, because afterwards I celebrated and I went, "Get in there, halibut." And the guy behind me that runs the fish stand, totally deadpan, just looked at me, shook his head and went, "It was a trout." So I didn't even know what fish I was catching. But basically, that is the farmer's market. And in the 1980s, it was going bust, and one of the vendors decided it would be fun to sell a fish to a punter and shout out the name and where the punter is from, which is why they were saying Ben Jacobs talkSPORT before it was thrown towards me. And it was a gimmick to try and attract attention, and it's just caught on 40, 50 years later. And now it's a thing that everybody does. But there's only one part of the fish market where you can do it. And not everyone is as lucky as me and actually gets to catch it, because usually it's the fishmongers that throw the fish between themselves, because most people would obviously drop it. And each of those fishes are worth about $200. So it's a quirk of Seattle. There's loads of other things as well, by the way. If you check out talkSPORT's YouTube channel, you'll see a feature into Seattle. And we went to a place called Gum Alley, where patrons were bored queuing for the theatre. So they decided to stick gum on the wall, and that caught on. And there's alleyways in Seattle that are full of gum as well. Then you've got the waterfront where there's a fan park as well. And I have to say, of all the places I've been to in the United States of America, Seattle for me is the biggest sports city, the biggest football city. It was a fantastic atmosphere and obviously a brilliant win for the US as well.
Yeah, I've said earlier to Max, Ben, stadium's magnificent in Seattle.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, these NFL stadiums are a little bit more character-based, I think. They're not just big round bowls, although ironically there's one exception, and that is the MetLife Stadium that will host the World Cup final. But generally they've got personality, they're modern, they've got big wraparound screens, which means that you get the opportunity not just to watch the game, but see a lot of the replays as well. And it's the first time really, with respect to Los Angeles, where it was sold out, but it's the first place I've been to for US men's national team fever, whether game or build-up, where I felt like it bled into the aftermath and there was hype before. So not just about the game. And then in LA, a lot of people go about their business, or they watch another sport, or they go and eat something amazing, or they go to the beach, and you think, where are all the US men's national team shirts? In Seattle, the complete opposite. There was a march down to the game. It was packed. And all the way into this evening, people are still celebrating the fact that the US men's national team have won the group.
Ben, before we get on to some transfer news, which I'm really looking forward to hearing about, can you just give us an update on Christian Pulisic? You know, he's one of USA's main men. Is he expected to miss time with this calf injury?
I think he'll be back for Turkey, but the only caveat is now the game means nothing because they've already won the group. Turkey failing to beat Paraguay, US men's national team winning their first two games, and it's head-to-head, by the way, as well, not goal difference. So a lot of people say, how are Turkey out when they can still get 3 points? It's because they've already lost to Paraguay and can't finish above them, and the same for Australia as well. And obviously they can't catch the US men's national team, and again, because of head-to-head, US men's national team finishing in first place. So Pulisic is expected to be back. It's just a kick to the back of the calf, but now that game doesn't mean that much. Maybe it'd be more prudent for Mauricio Pochettino to wait, to rest him, and then bring him back for that round of 32 game.
Now in transfer news, Ben, obviously Liverpool busy looking to bolster the squad under Andoni Iraola, who I believe is going to be a real hit at Liverpool because of his connections with Bilbao. What can you tell us about the latest regarding Liverpool?
Yeah, so Victor Munoz has come in already. Some are billing it as a hijack because Newcastle were optimistic in advanced talks, but Liverpool have worked discreetly on that deal, and it was just about deciding to trigger the release clause. But long before Andoni Iraola came in, he was one target, and yet there'll be another attacker. And Liverpool are optimistic on Yan Diomande. PSG are there. Leipzig would ideally like the player to stay for an extra year, but as it stands, he's not communicated that he wants to sign a new deal on excellent terms and then leave in 2027. Liverpool's latest offer is approaching 100 million euros. Leipzig are now saying they want 130 million euros. I think there's a fair chance the parties meet halfway and this deal gets done. But as you can imagine, there are other targets, including Brighton's Yankuba Minter, in case this deal, which is complicated and expensive, doesn't come off. But there's absolutely no doubt Diomande is Liverpool's leading target. Bradley Barcola is there on the list as well. And Liverpool are in for a busy summer, as, by the way, are Manchester United and Spurs and Arsenal. And it all feels like they want a wide attacker, and it all feels like they want a central midfielder.
Yeah, Ben, I hear you've got an update as well on the best player in the world, Elliot Anderson.
I think you might want to turn off here, because my expectation is Elliot Anderson leaves Nottingham Forest potentially during the World Cup and moves to Man City. Man United haven't made a move. They are thinking about Mateus Fernandes. In fact, more than that, they're in talks with West Ham. Tottenham have entered that race, PSG, Real Madrid as well. And don't forget Alex Scott in all of this for Manchester United, and also potentially for Arsenal and Tottenham too. But with Elliot Anderson, Man City's last bid was 106 plus 15, so approaching with the add-ons British transfer record. It was rejected, but talks are still ongoing. And Evangelos Marinakis is dealing with this personally. So everyone else, even in the sporting department, to my knowledge, is not part of the negotiations. Of course, Forest want a British transfer record. Manchester City are hoping to pay just shy of it, but they're not that far apart. And things have progressed in the last 24 to 48 hours. And there is a chance, at least, that Anderson does a medical whilst on England duty. And the other thing to add is part of the delay is less about the clubs moving towards an agreement and more about Nottingham Forest wanting to declare this in July, if they can, on the next financial year. And as we tick towards the end of this financial year, it wouldn't at all surprise me if during the World Cup Manchester City land Elliot Anderson, nor would I be shocked if they also move for Sandro Tonali, who is of course also a Tottenham target.
Shrewd business that would be from Mr. Marinakis. Say what you want about him, but he's bringing the big bucks to the City ground. Incredible piece of business should that go through. And of course, if Ben's anything to go by, we expect that to happen. Ben, thank you so much, mate. Great update. And just double check you've washed those hands, because I bet they're a bit fishy still.
Nails, hands, shirt, everything. They actually give you a wet towel, so I'm okay, but I might go back and do it again tomorrow before we fly out.
Yeah, they done you like a kipper. Sorry.
Great hands, Ben. Absolute pleasure, mate. We'll speak to you very soon.
Take care.
He's talkSPORT's US correspondent, transfer expert Ben Jacobs. You're listening to the Weekend World Cup Breakfast on talkSPORT. Coming up next, we're going to get all the latest odds with Coral.
Well, we're talking about Arsenal because the press are talking about Arsenal.
Squeezed Arsenal into a World Cup show.
You're about to hear. Are you Arsenal in disguise? In the Daily Mail. Yeah, we're going there. We're going there.
Who's written that? Is that you? Is that by Laura Coke Francis?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's my first line in the Daily
well
Mail.
Done. Congratulations.
The Nation joins Gunners fans in praise of Rice's corners.
Oh, come on. This is... Benty and I were out hobnobbing with the Rich and Famous last night, or maybe Rich and Shameless, and we were talking to Piers Morgan.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And he asked the same question about Declan Rice's corners, and I'm like, he's just taking the corner, the fella.
Mate, no.
I love Declan. You know that.
Hey,
but unless you've got Harry Kane running onto it, a corner's only as good as the finish.
No, look at Arsenal been doing all season, and people have criticised Arsenal for that.
You just bullied goalkeepers, just smashed goalkeepers out of the way.
That's so right. So the hypocrisy here is loud and clear. In the Daily Mail, which I've just messed up there, they're calling it dark arts in praise of the dark arts that England have employed at corners, which we've been very vocal about.
We're not doing those corners at the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Declan's doing outswingers.
Did you see the amount of... So Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm saying, but when it's an in-swing, everyone's smashing into the keeper. These are outswings. Harry Kane's running onto them.
Now, all the blocks, I saw the blocks the other night, England.
Yeah, so just to be clear, corner's good, but corner's not good when Arsenal do it. In-swing are good, outswing are bad.
Unless Harry Kane's on the end of them,
so safe to say, according to you, and I think I speak on behalf of Arsenal Nation here, I'm not allowing you to enjoy us having corners, if that's all right. So as far as you're concerned, it was 3-2.
I'll speak on the rest of the nation, right? And I don't like your attitude.
I love it.
Yeah, the hypocrisy.
No, here's what's going to happen. Yep. So you, of course, won't remember, and neither will I, but in 1966, when England won the World Cup, right? Jeff Hurst scored 3 and Martin Peters scored the other one, and Bobby Moore lifted it. And West Ham, for years, were like, West Ham won the World Cup. And this is exactly what you're doing now with Arsenal.
It is exactly what we're doing.
Right.
But
Declan Rice took a corner. Now, I love Declan, so I don't want to say this, but out of everyone that played, who got the lowest marks?
You don't believe that?
I don't believe that.
Declan was very good.
I know he was, but it's Harry Kane. It's Jude Bellingham.
No, the delivery, it's all about the delivery. There's no point Harry Kane being there if the delivery is not on point.
No. Great delivery. If no one's heading it, it doesn't matter.
weekend World Cup breakfast, and we aren't just playing this belter of a tune all night long because of our World Cup schedules that mean me and Cass don't get a wink of sleep. It is the King of Motown's birthday, the legend Lionel Richie. The voice of All Night Long, and hello.
Guess age.
Go on then. Well, I've got the answer here, so I'll...
I'd say Lionel Richie would probably be about 71.
Ooh, that's a compliment, mate. He's 77.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've got that wrong. I'm trying to remember him in the Commodores. Right. Yeah.
Great song, great vibes. Sun's going to be shining this weekend. More World Cup action live on talkSPORT. Netherlands, Sweden, Germany, Ivory Coast.
Yep.
It's a feast of football. Happy birthday, Lionel Richie. Hope he's enjoying a World Cup over in the States. Sold over 100 million records worldwide. Wow. I mean, I could listen to this for a while, but we do need to get the very latest odds with our good friends at Coral.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here for rewarding the fans this Royal Ascot. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Good morning, Dave Stevens.
Max, Cass, good morning. Listen, I was dancing along to that as well. We could have played Lionel. 73 would have been my guess for what it's worth. So clearly Lionel didn't have quite a harder paper round as us, Cass. So, listen, I've got to say, I mean, a great show this morning. I thought the Scotland fan who was slightly worse for wear was going to be the highlight. Apologies for anyone that wasn't listening to that earlier on or watching it. But the fish throwing, then Ben Jacobs.
Yeah, I know he's topped it, hasn't he?
It suddenly popped up on the screen. I thought, has the channel changed here or something? But for those that didn't hear the Scotland fan, apologies, your roving reporter was in one of the bars, wasn't he? And it was a perfectly easy question. And then the Scotland fan went into such in-depth analysis, which was great, apart from the fact that he may have had one or two.
1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, I reckon, Dave, by the sounds of it. But it was impassioned tactical insight from him, so fair play.
It was brilliant.
On the Scotland stuff, though, what are their odds now, having lost? They're now third in the group. What are their odds to qualify for the knockout stage?
Yeah, I want to give Scotland fans some optimism because they are still odds on 2-5 or 5-2 on to qualify. They always looked like third place was going to be, what got them through. The good news was, Max, obviously they didn't get hammered by Morocco. 1-0, okay, a point clearly would have been a brilliant result, but we saw how good Morocco were against Brazil. Brazil obviously put 3 past Haiti. So it's all down to the game against Brazil. But, I mean, already, if you'd have said, what's the first team going to get out of this tournament? Turkey. I mean, I think Turkey were a lot of people's dark horses for this tournament. So the great news for Scotland is it's still in your hands. You're still odds on to qualify. And we want to hear more from that Scotland fan that we heard from earlier.
David, there's some really good tight games. I think Netherlands, Sweden, and likewise Germany, Ivory Coast. These are both tight affairs.
Do you know what, Cass? I want your opinion because I think we as bookmakers are underestimating Sweden. Netherlands 8-11, so odds on the Netherlands 3-1 the draw, 7-2 Sweden. I thought Sweden looked, they put 5 past Tunisia. Netherlands held by Japan, and Japan were good value for that. We'll come on to them, but. Cass, are we underestimating Sweden? Do you think at 7-2, even 3-1 the draw?
Absolutely. When I said they were be tight affairs, you look at the forward line of with Gyökeres and Isak, and look, hopefully Isak's back to full fitness. But then you have Ayari behind him. That they're dangerous, Sweden. They have a dangerous style. They play the two up front and do it very well. Whereas I think the Dutch forward line, Somerville, look, they're all good players. Somerville, Gakpo. And Marlon, who's obviously in Italy now, but was at Villa before, they're good, but I don't think they're that level.
No, I agree. I think sort of you're getting even money about Sweden or the draw. Looks the value there. Look, I mentioned Japan. They were good value for that point against Netherlands, no question. They're odds on to beat Tunisia, who are 5-1, 3-1 the draw. You mentioned Germany. Again, look, they put 7 past Curacao. The highlight, obviously, for Curacao was making it 1-1. We almost now got to see Germany go and do it against a good Ivory Coast team. 1-2 Germany, 5-1 Ivory Coast, 18-5 the draw. And the other game does feature Curacao, 18-1 shot against 1-8 Ecuador, 17-2 the draw. And just a quick recap at the head of the betting, because England have shortened again. It doesn't take much for us England fans to get carried away, does it? We're now 5-1, joint second favourites with Spain, only France at 7-2. It's coming home, Max.
It is.
Are you a believer?
I'm a hopeless dreamer, hopeless believer, romantic. I think it's coming home. Thomas Tuchel's got that magic, I think, Dave.
I agree. Look, look, we are guilty of getting carried away. We've got very short memories, 60 years of hurt, but they did look good, particularly second half. Early days, of course, but I'm already predicting a France-England final, which, Cass, I know you'd love as someone that spent a lot of your career in France.
Yeah, Wes, they're the danger, Dave. They are a real big danger to everybody. But look, there's some great racing today at Royal Ascot. You've got the Queen Elizabeth Stakes, which is always a big race, a lot of money. If anyone to the winner gets paid. Seen Scandinavia winning midweek. So tell us how you're seeing it, Dave.
Yeah, look, it's been a brilliant Royal meeting. I mean, it always is, but the sun has shone, which, as we all know, makes a difference in any event like that. But we've seen some brilliant performances. Scandinavia beating Trawlerman in the Gold Cup on Thursday, Cass, was a genuine race for the ages. Ombudsman was brilliant on Wednesday. And highlights galore today at 3:05, the Hardwick Stakes. It's actually a Group 2, but it's a Group 1, really, given the quality of the horses. Best Secret and Goliath give France a strong hand there. You mentioned the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Stakes. Japan versus Australia at the head of the betting. I mean, that tells you what this meeting's all about. The international runners, Satono Rev for Japan against Jolie Star from Australia. And then at 5 o'clock, it's a small matter of 28 runners in the Wokingham, the Cavalry Charge. And I'm hoping that Dubai Bling, for a group of owners, including Michael Owen, who, of course, loves his racing, has been at Ascot all week. I'm hoping that can go well at a big price. And, I mean, we're forgetting there's Premiership rugby, there's a Test match that England are playing terribly in, and there's US Open golf match, which Wyndham Clark holds a 4-shot lead. But this is how hard we know it is to get past the post in a major. He's still 7-4. Can be backed at 7-4. Jean de Chauffelet 6-1. Matt Fitzpatrick 7-1. So that US Open at Shinnecock is not over by any stretch.
Dave, thank you so much for bringing the energy. As always, we'll speak to you very soon, mate.
Cheers, fellas.
Brilliant. That was Dave Stevens with Coral. The very latest look at the odds. Be gambleaware.org.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here for rewarding the fans this Royal Ascot. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Yeah, you're listening to the Weekend World Cup Breakfast. Up next, we're going to chat with a very young CEO.
Talking about Jude Bellingham, because of his talent, because of his ability, Kyle, he's often the focus of attention, isn't he? I mean, tell us, I mean, you've been in the same dressing room as him. What's he like as a person?
No, he's good, and I think he carries a lot of weight on his shoulders for such a young boy. I think people probably forget how young he is. Obviously, he's gone on from leaps and bounds from Birmingham City to Dortmund to now playing for, one of, if not the biggest clubs in the world. But I was saying it before, I think Morgan Rogers is a great player. I played with him at City. He's done unbelievable for Villa. But I just think in them moments, Jude Bellingham probably pips him just because of the big game moments, and last night proved that.
Yeah.
How good is he? Because you've been in training with him, you played with him. Because when we watch him, I just see someone who can score left foot, right foot. I see someone who can get box to box, good in the air. Looks like the complete player.
Yeah, I think, he's an all-rounder. He can tackle, he can defend, he can attack, he scores goals. As you just said, left, right foot, he's got an engine on him. Is he a silky number 10 that we're probably used to seeing in the Premier League? Probably not. He's more of a powerhouse, but, in these conditions that they're playing the World Cup in like this, it could work to our advantage with having him, Declan and, Anderson, that all have good engines on them and then can get up and down the pitch.
Mm. Does it ever get to him, the sort of criticism that he gets, the media attention that he gets?
I think probably it does. I think probably it does some way, but I don't think you can let it get to you. I think when you're a big football player like that with a name that you've got, obviously you're going to hear and you're going to see. People are going to tell you what people are saying, but you have to take that pressure. You're Jude Bellingham. You're Jude Bellingham, and you've got that pressure on your shoulder. You're playing for Real Madrid and also representing England in a number 10 jersey, so you've got to deal with it.
We've seen a few months ago, there were journalists saying that he shouldn't be involved because there was reports that Jude Bellingham makes the older players, they're scared to play because he's so much of a character. And I was like, surely, Walks, you're a senior player. Jude Bellingham, if he's 18, 19, 20, he's not going to affect the senior pros, is he?
No, I don't think it affects you. You try and play to.
Good morning, this is the Weekend World Cup breakfast on talkSPORT. I'm your host, Max Scott. Former Aston Villa and Celtic striker Tony Cascarino is alongside me. Some of your headlines this morning. Dallas has been hit by a series of flash floods with threat to life just days before Argentina and Lionel Messi are due to visit. The world champions face Austria on Monday from 6 p.m. live on talkSPORT. Elsewhere, we understand Manchester City are closing in on the signing of Forest midfielder Elliot Anderson for £125 million. And Brazil strolled past Minas Haiti in a 3-0 win thanks to a brace by Manchester United forward Matheus Cunha. However, talkSPORT's Scott Minto wasn't impressed by the manner of their performance.
I've seen nothing that's really changed. I really was expecting, the game, it'd be difficult for the first 20 minutes. That first goal would be the hardest. Once they scored, then who knows how many they could get. And 3-0 at half-time, I'm expecting, wow, they're really going to come at Haiti and really make a statement. Not just for their own fans, but actually to the rest of the tournament. And they didn't even get a shot on target, let alone a goal. And so I was really disappointed with them in the second half. And yeah, on this performance, Brazil are not winning the World Cup.
Scott Minto, ruthless there. That 3-0 scoreline flattering to deceive. Cass, do you think that there's a real good chance Scotland can get something from this game?
Yeah, I said I'm with Scott on this one. I think the Brazil team, especially in midfield, are a little bit one-paced. I don't think they're as close to being a Brazil of years gone by. And they've been largely disappointed. They showed they've got fits and starts in games. I mean, the first half last night, they obviously scored goals and got them quickly. But after that, I thought they were not much to be afraid of. I don't think anyone should be afraid of taking on Brazil.
There is, though, and I mean, you could say there's many caveats, Vinicius Junior, Matheus Cunha, Rafinha. But for me, the big caveat, I agree with everything you're saying. I think that they've been underwhelming, and I think they probably will continue to be. But the one thing that's just a little sort of reminder for me is they've got Carlo Ancelotti, cool under pressure, serial winner.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think you'll also say that Alisson's produced quite a good few saves already.
Yep.
For Brazil in goal. But I just don't see this Brazil team, especially in the midfield areas. Like Bruno Ramirez, Gil Ramirez is a really good player, a really good footballer, but I don't think he's got the legs of, getting around the pitches like Casemiro can't. And that will be their midfield with Paqueta in front of them. Them three, that's not, I don't feel, a team that can win the ball back very easily.
On Ancelotti, who was the coolest manager you ever worked for in terms of, Carlo Ancelotti's a cool bloke, but in terms of being under pressure, because we know the pressure on Ancelotti's massive, he's going to deal with that just fine. For you, who was closest to Don Carlo that you ever worked under?
Tough one. Most of mine were quite angry.
What, because of you?
Probably, yeah. Big Jack was cool. He'd get angry, but he was cool. He'd say he was a man of very few words, Big Jack Charlton, internationally. And Mick McCarthy was, again, Mick would assume that he would be loud, and Mick wasn't. He kept it together, So I think they probably stand out. It's a tough one. John Dockett at Millwall was like that. Graham Taylor, I didn't know long enough.
Yeah, he left, didn't he, after about 6 weeks?
Keith Peacock at Gillingham was brilliant. If I was to say, now I'm thinking about it, I was talking about Keith Peacock, who was my first manager at Gillingham. He was extraordinary for the fact that he always had his feet on the ground. He was always, if you had a bad game, he'd always bring you back to reality.
Yeah.
He was really good on doing things like that about you as growing as a player. I'd say Keith. I had for Keith for 6 years at Gillingham, and I've got to say, he never got flustered to a manner of really losing it in the dressing room. Never did that.
Yeah, I love that. Just like Carlo Ancelotti, he's going to need that because, yes, they beat Haiti 3-0. Yes, they got their first win of the World Cup, but it doesn't quite look like they're at the races. Ancelotti's going to have to pick something out of the hat if they're going to win this World Cup. A reminder, Scotland-Brazil, live on talkSPORT, 11 p.m. kickoff next Wednesday. Looking forward to that one. Scotland could still go through regardless of what happens, though. Hopeful for the Tartan Army. Me personally, we've had a few texts this morning actually, Cass, from England fans. They're not liking the fact that I'm getting on board with Scotland in the sense that I like seeing them do well, and they're more saying, look, they ain't us. We don't want them in the World Cup. Each to their own, game of opinions, but come on, the Tartan Army, we love to see it. Right, we spoke about some MotoGP earlier in the showcast. Team Ducati heads into the Czech Grand Prix at Brno with serious momentum after winning 3 of the last 5 races, setting up a thrilling battle against grid favourites Aprilia. It's live over on talkSPORT 2 later tomorrow from 1 p.m. Happy to say now, speak a little bit more about this, and I'm sure some other bits Cass might want to get into. It's the CEO of Silverstone, Stuart Pringles. Stuart, good morning.
Hi, Stuart.
Morning.
Yeah, Stuart, first and foremost, being a CEO and so relatively to a new sport that you're trying to develop and involved in all the issues you have to deal with, the finances, tell us how big it is and how it's become. Because Silverstone, I used to think, I grew up in Kent, so I'd always, Brands Hatch was the biggest race, the racing track. But Silverstone in recent years has done way more.
Well, it actually has. You're right, Tony. I also grew up in Kent watching you play at Gillingham.
There we go.
You were my vintage there. No, look, we've done MotoGP for a number of years. This time round, we've been running it for 15, 16, 17 years. We did a chunk of it in the 80s as well, and so there's a lot of knowledge in the business. We also we really pride ourselves on putting on large-scale events at Silverstone. It's a big space, and we've got certain expertise in welcoming big crowds and using this enormous canvas we have to create amazing live entertainment. We've got as many seats around Silverstone as Wembley Stadium. They're just spread out over 3.5 miles. So it's quite an interesting dynamic to work with. But MotoGP is a fundamentally fascinating and thrilling sport. It is the riders are absolute heroes. They're modern day gladiators.
Yeah, absolutely. We were speaking earlier, and just the risk they put themselves under is unlike probably any other motorsport. Now, I don't know loads about MotoGP. I am an F1 fan, and what some of the criticism of F1 in general is that the cars are getting bigger, but the circuits aren't necessarily. This season, the cars have got narrower. We're seeing a lot more overtaking. How do you at Silverstone, do you adapt like the track itself for Formula One compared to MotoGP, or do you just kind of keep it the same and let them go at it?
It's actually the same, and it is the motorcycle safety requirements and track license that really dictate how the circuit is configured. The riders or the governing body entirely understandably wants a decent runoff for riders should they come off their bike to shed speed before they come anywhere close to something solid. So that creates the runoff space. I mean, because we've got this space, we have got a really decent amount of runoff. You know, you won't see MotoGP racing on a street circuit as you would see Formula One racing around Monaco. You know, I mean, there is one motorcycle exception for that in. Well, couple actually. You've got the road racing in Northern Ireland, but also in Macau, in China. But essentially, motorcycle racing takes place with much bigger runoffs. But it's fast, Silverstone. The thing about Silverstone, it's built around an airfield perimeter circuit. We've got some long straights, and whether it's Formula One or indeed MotoGP, it works really well because you've got these long straights, and particularly on the bikes, they slipstream, they pop out of the slipstream, they're diving down. It is not unusual to see the lead change hands three or four times a lap. Never mind a race, as you see with some car races. It is absolutely fantastic racing, not least because you can see what the riders are doing. They're hanging off the bike in the most acrobatic fashion.
Stuart, I was going to ask you, because tell me if I'm wrong here, but it didn't seem that long ago that Silverstone had a bleak future, but now at the vision and where you're heading and taking it feels completely different from that time. Am I wrong to say that?
No, you're absolutely right, Tony. You're right to recall that we had some difficult years. We set about 12 years ago, 11, 12 years ago, sort of trying to take ourselves from being a one Sunday in July business, well known for the Formula One British Grand Prix, and actually create Silverstone as a year-round leisure and business destination. So you can come to Silverstone any day of the year now, and there's something to do. We've got a museum that's open. We've got a fantastic international kart circuit. There's a couple of hotels, fantastic restaurant, driving experiences, things on track all the time. And I guess in that respect, we're not greatly different to a football stadium. You know, most or indeed in most sports stadiums, everybody's trying to use their facilities year round. We use it for conferences and exhibitions in the winter when we're not racing. That's given us a much brighter future. And I have to say, we have. It's been fortuitous timing with the popularity of F1 rising on the back of Drive to Survive. That's brought us a whole new audience that we've really worked hard to capitalise upon.
Yeah, well, you know, for its worth, Stuart, you've done an absolutely brilliant job, because it would have been an absolute crying shame if, for example, Silverstone was no longer on the F1 calendar, which I know was being discussed a few years ago. So absolutely cracking job. And from the guests that we've spoken to this morning, yourself included, Stuart, I'm looking forward to watching the MotoGP. I mean, it's absolutely sort of pedal to the metal stuff. So, Stuart, great work, and thanks so much for joining us.
Yep. And up the Gills, Stuart.
Up the Gills, indeed.
Brilliant. That is CEO of Silverstone, Stuart Pringle, and Cassie's #1 fan, apparently. You're his vintage. You remembered, you know, watching you up for the Gills. That must be
makes you feel old,
by the way. That's a really nice thing to hear, because if someone ever says, "Oh, I heard you on the radio," that's great. That's great for me, but for someone to say, "I watched you in your prime," that's top.
Especially at Gillingham, where I started, and I was a young lad, and spent 6 years, the longest club I ever played for.
Yeah.
Everyone else.
They were a long club, were they?
No, longest club I
500 metre long pitch.
The tenure at Gillingham was, but yeah, I had a great time. And also it was a time where footballers were quite different.
Yeah.
You know, very different.
In what
many
way?
Ways.
Like what?
Well, just that he didn't live this lifestyle. It wasn't very professional in comparison to today. And it was just, you know, when you go to a club and you played League One, League Two football or conference, or, you know, you play at that level, it's just a different sense. You're all hoping that you'll get the opportunity to play for the big boys, or, you know, when you're at the lower down, you're not getting, you wasn't getting, especially at my time, you wasn't getting much better paid than the average Joe, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And look at you now. Look at you now.
Still getting paid average Joe. No, but you know what I mean? It's a different feel. And we used to have a pint in the Cricketers near Gillingham Station, which was the pub.
Bring back those days, that's what I say, Cass. Bring them back.
Have a pint with the fans, we did.
Yeah, well, fans like Stuart Pringle, CEO of Silverstone. Great guest there. By the way, live this Sunday, the Czechia MotoGP is live on talkSPORT 2 at 1 p.m. The riders are set, the pressure is real. Hear the engines roar for yourself. Watch MotoGP from Silverstone. Book now, experience MotoGP for real life, and you can watch every practice, qualifying and race exclusively live on TNT Sports. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast on talkSPORT. Next, we're going to look at some of the best bits across the station in this World Cup.
I've got to speak to you about England and obviously, of course, the result the other day. Really good second half performance. First and foremost, what did you make of the performance? And some people are saying it's the best half of football they've seen England play in years.
Well, what I was really impressed with, there's two things. The turnaround in the second half, and you saw Harry Kane, Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham all come out speaking glowingly about the manager's team talk at half-time. So that's an absolute massive, massive, massive plus, because a manager that's very aggressive, he's punchy, and he ain't going to go out trying to stay in a game. He's going to go out trying to win a game, and if it doesn't happen, he ain't going to be for the want of trying. And the second thing is, he's aggressive substitutions and really decisive substitutions in the second half late on, where normally you see a lot of managers go, we're going to protect this lead. He's saying, no, I've got my foot on their throat and we're going to finish them off. And I love that. And if that's going to be the way we go about this tournament, we're going to have a good time.
I totally agree with you. I said that, actually. Do you think that's the difference between what Southgate would have done and maybe bring on like a Calvin Phillips, a holder, to make sure we didn't lose the game?
Yeah, Southgate and a lot of other managers have done that. And I think that was probably when you're looking back now, it's a great thing having hindsight, but our Achilles heel probably, even though we've got further than any team since '66 in these last couple of tournaments, we still were playing at times, it felt, with the shackles on or the handbrake half up in the critical moments, in the biggest moments for England in these big games. And so with that comes kind of apprehension and a bit of anxiousness when you're watching those games, right? And Benty, you've been in them England squads, yeah? A lot of the guys in them teams, and as a unit, as a team, as well as individuals, we were scared to lose games. And this team in that second...
Good morning. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast. Me, Max Scott, and a man who played in not one, but 2 World Cups for the Republic of Ireland. It's Tony Cascarino, and it's Lionel Richie's birthday. King of Motown. He's 77. He's looking well, Cass, isn't he, Lionel Richie?
Yeah, he probably spends a bit on himself.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to say it. You said it. Yeah.
You know, as we evolve. Us men are changing, and I've had a bit of work done as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you were just telling me that I'm all knocked out when you were playing for Gillingham. Yeah. But this is Lionel Richie, my destiny. Speaking of destiny, Cass, Does anyone want the chance to win 26 big ones? £26,000 tax-free? Of course you do.
American accent.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that. But to celebrate the 2026 FIFA World Cup, we're giving away the big bucks. Fund your summer and enter right now. Head to talksportwin.com to enter for T's and C's. Do you like that one, Cass?
Yeah, I did.
Right. Time now for a bit of this. Yes, this is Show Me Talk Sport, where we take a look at what's been happening across this great, beautiful network. And we're starting with Cowboy Crook, who's been up to his usual antics. By the way, Crookie's on an absolute gig here.
Good.
Crookie's just having an absolute blast. I bet he's on the work credit card. And look, this is what he's been up to.
They'll know, and he'll pay. He'll have to pay it if he get when he.
I hope so. It'd be great if he came back and he had to pay for it all. But unfortunately, he does have some work to do on this holiday.
And Paul Van Hecker on his way from Brighton to Tottenham, following the footsteps of Andy Robertson and Marcus Senesi. So basically, Roberto De Zerbi is going to have a whole new defence to work with next season, Tottenham having finished 17th in each of the last 2 Premier League campaigns.
Well, it's big news, Crookie, but listen, the bigger news is what's on the plate in front of you. I mean, anyone who's watching on YouTube, obviously this is our chief football correspondent. I need you to have a look at what he's got. Crookie, just lift up for me, please, because how big is that steak ribs that you got in front of you?
I feel like we're interrupting, Alex. I feel like you're sort of in the middle. You're in the middle of your dinner, and we've just interrupted you. It looks beautiful.
You have rudely interrupted me, that is true. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. They've shown us the smokers, they've shown us how they were cooking all this wonderful food. We got a bit of jalapeno sausage there, we got the world-famous beef brisket, and listen, I'm polite, I'm going to have to finish it.
That was the first piece of work I'd seen Crookie do in this World Cup, and then he ends up talking about his brisket. Now it's been shown round how they're smoking the steaks.
To be fair, that's a big. Oh, it's a prime one. That one.
It is, but that, for me, I love a steak. I love a fillet steak. I love a Wagyu steak. Don't eat them very much because it costs an arm and a leg. But that's a bit much for me.
I couldn't eat that much. But Crookie's a big lad.
Well, you said it, not me.
You can't say his eyes are bigger than his belly.
Well, what's your favourite American cuisine, Cass? Is there an American cuisine?
No, I tell you what I've had. I tell you what I had, and I don't often eat burgers, but when I went to America and I had one of the In-N-Out burgers in one of the chains there, I couldn't believe how nice it was.
Yeah.
It was different gravy.
This
In-N-Out burgers.
Okay, In-N-Out burgers. Mine's Chick-fil-A. I know it's basically just fast food restaurant, but it's like unbelievable. And they have this secret sauce.
Yeah.
I've got a mate that lives over in America, and every time he comes back, he brings me. Shout out Tom Farr. I gave him my World Cup ticket actually. But anyway. And in response to me giving his World Cup ticket, he brings me Chick-fil-A sauce. Unbelievable.
By the way, on your American, do you know my favourite line on a bit American?
Go on.
You say, right?
No, say it in American accent. Don't tell me in English accent.
You're a cowboy, because you mentioned cowboys earlier. Yeah, you go. Put your hands up, you bum. Put my hands up, my what?
You haven't done that, have you? No, good. Love it.
That's good.
That's good.
That's a line from a film. I can't remember which film. It might be Blazing Saddles, but I can't remember. But it was a line from a film. Put your hands up your bum. Put my hands up my what?
Love it. Right, we're going to move quickly on. We're getting into the spirit of America here this morning. talkSPORT's been scouring this country, this beautiful green and present land, asking the fans the questions that matter. Who is faster, Gabby Agbonlahor in his prime or Kyle Walker?
It's a tough call, but I'd go for Gabby. He was awesome, and no defender wants anybody with that pace running at them. So I'd go for Gabby. I would.
Quicker than Kyle Walker?
I think so. Yeah, I do. And I'm sure Gabby would agree with me.
Gabby. Well, he used to start across the field, didn't he? I think he's better than Kyle, to be honest.
Well, we had Kyle on loan for us for many years ago, and he was quick. But Gabby was quicker.
And there you go. It might be a little bit unfair because Gabby Agbonlahor is in that building behind me, but it seems that Gabby's got the vote.
Right, the rest of the world. He actually spoke to about 100 people who were there, but we already decided the show's free, okay?
I clipped that up for them.
Jill's a regular contributor. She says, why not get both of them in the car park? Said, my money's on Kyle.
Just about, yeah.
You know football.
I'll have to kick him first.
Slightly biased reporting from our very own Neil Candola, only speaking to Villa fans at talkSPORT's Fan Park. Great place to watch the World Cup, by the way. Seen some clips on social media, unbelievable scenes. Yeah. Who's the fastest player, Cass, you've ever played with?
Henry. Oh, with? Cool. Fastest player I've ever played with. Top of my head, I'm still trying to think. Jimmy Carter was quick.
American US president?
No, yeah. Jimmy Carter when I was at Millwall. He played for Liverpool and Arsenal as well, by the way, Jimmy Carter. He was very quick, but I'm trying to think of his one quicker.
Well, how about this? Do you agree with those Villa fans that in his prime, Gabs was...
Well, I've seen both live, because obviously I'd retired when they were both playing, and Kyle Walker had that habit of, he actually would want to give half a yard to the winger, and then look at him and then chase him and run him down. So really top-end Kyle Walker was extremely quick and knew it. He really knew it. Gabby, I saw at Arsenal one day when I think he scored a brace, and I remember, Gabby's pace was eye-catching. I would have said that probably Gabby could get him over distance, but there's not much in it, by the way. There's very little in it between Gabby and Kyle Walker at their best.
Speaking of pace, Jason Cundy was weighing up who or what he would be in a foot race.
What animal could you out-sprint?
Oh, I mean, cow?
Cow? They don't go quick.
I think cows are quite quick.
How fast is a cow?
I think cows are quite quick, you know.
Do you reckon?
I think they are.
I don't know, mate.
I think they're quicker than you think.
No,
because there's a lot of bulk.
I reckon a cow.
How fast can a cow run? I'll ask my mate.
12 mile an hour.
12 an hour?
I don't think a cow's quick, mate.
Okay, right.
I'm not having a cow's quick.
Okay, how quick can a cow run?
Okay, what have we got?
Yes, cows can run, especially in short bursts.
I know they can run.
Yeah, how quick are they?
How quick is a cow?
Honestly, this is... Your mate never talks to you, mate. Just type it in your phone. It does my head in.
25 miles an hour.
What?
Jay.
What? A cow does 25. If there's a speed camera in London, the camera would go off.
We love it on the sports pod, don't they? I mean, the state of Jason's knees, I don't think it could
Jason,
anything.
Jason was quick.
He was. He's not anymore.
No, he's not anymore. But as a centre-half, that was his biggest asset.
A reminder that the Sports Bar Encouraging Signs podcast is out every Tuesday and Friday. Wherever you get your pods, you can listen and leave a 5-star review. Tell your mates about the show. But coming up next, about time, we're talking about England. Now, earlier in the show, we asked the all-important question. Who was faster in their pomp? Kyle Walker or Gabby Agbonlahor? Well, talkSPORT's Anil Kandala was at the talkSPORT fan zone at Villa Park last night for England against Croatia, and he put that question to some of the fans in attendance.
It's a tough call, but I'd go for Gabby. He was awesome, and no defender wants anybody with that pace running at them. So I'd go for Gabby. I would.
Quicker than Kyle Walker?
I think so. Yeah, I do. And I'm sure Gabby would agree with me.
Gabby. Well, he used to dart across the field, didn't he? I think he's better than Kyle, to be honest.
Well, we had Kyle on loan for us for many years ago, and he was quick, but Gabby was quicker.
And there you go. It might be a little bit unfair because Gabby Agbonlahor is in that building behind me, but it seems that Gabby's got the vote.
Right, the rest of the world.
He actually spoke to about 100 people who were there, but we only decided to show 3. Okay,
I clipped that up for them.
Yeah.
Do you know what though? When I think about Kyle, when I go back to that game, Kyle, of like I think it might be Germany at Wembley, and you was right side of the 3, but like you was all the way on the right back.
In 1994, FIFA looked at the United States and said, yes, this is the perfect place for a World Cup. To the average US sports fan, a 0-0 draw sounded less like a sporting event and more like a coding error. The greatest show on earth coming to town would soon change that. Because it was America, they didn't just host the World Cup, they supersized it. The opening ceremony was like a Super Bowl halftime show and saw Diana Ross miss a penalty from 6 yards out, wide of a goal designed to collapse as the ball hit the net. Despite the miss, the goal collapsed anyway. Classic Hollywood. When the matches started, something weird happened. Americans actually showed up. Sure, half the crowd were probably wondering when the quarterbacks were coming on, but the energy was infectious. The cultural mashup was glorious. International fans arrived expecting traditional football fare and found stadiums pumping out star-spangled scoff snacks. For the US, nothing said the beautiful game quite like a processed platter. And the heat. Games were played in blistering midday sun to please European TV audiences. Players were practically melting on the pitch, while fans in the stands were getting sunburns shaped like replica jerseys. Can you imagine the tan lines if England were there? Nightmare. On the pitch, we got pure theatre. Bebeto's baby rocking celebration, Maradona's last international hurrah, and ultimately a final that ended in the most American way possible, a dramatic shootout, with Baggio launching his penalty straight into the California stratosphere. To this day, 1994 remains the most attended World Cup in history. The total for the 52 games, 3.5 million. That's an average of 68,000 per game. America didn't just survive the invasion of a foreign sport, it birthed Major League Soccer because of it. Beckham, Messi, they don't go if it wasn't for USA 94. Turns out all it took to hook the States on the world's game was a little bit of 90s magic and a whole lot of nacho cheese.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for being with us. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast Show. Me, Max Scott, alongside Gillingham's finest, Tony Cascarino. And we're reviewing what was a brilliant night of World Cup action where Morocco beat Scotland 1-0 thanks to Bayern Munich star Ismail Saibari.
Morocco try and play the ball through him. Brahim Diaz has passed his man, chips it in. Oh, it's a fabulous goal. It was played through beautifully and Ismail Saibari was at the edge of the box.
Scotland take on Brazil in that crucial final group game next Wednesday from 11 p.m. live here on talkSPORT. Elsewhere, Man United forward Matheus Cunha scored twice as Brazil finally arrived at the World Cup, beating Haiti 3-0.
There are three coming forward, plays it through. That's a delightful ball. There's the chance for Cunha. It's a brilliant finish into the top corner. A slow dive and celebration. He doubles Brazil's lead. He doubles his own tally.
And joining us in just half an hour is this streets will never forget Crystal Palace legend.
Balassi is onside and he's lobbed the keeper. Brilliant from Yannick Balassi. The second goal with Zaha pushed through to Balassi.
5 games in the championship and they're on the back foot. Here is Balassi round the goalkeeper, finds the back of the net. A superb finish from Yannick Balassi.
Yeah, Yannick Balassi is going to be with us to discuss the DR Congo's World Cup chances. Great draw against Portugal earlier in the week. His time in Brazil as well. And a look back on his Crystal Palace career. Give us a call. Drop us a WhatsApp message this morning. 81089 or 03717223344. This is the Weekend World Cup Breakfast on talkSPORT. Yeah, keep those texts coming in. We've got a few here, Cass. We're talking about speedsters, the quickest players, and Andy from Brinsgrove says, "Good morning, Cass. Did you forget about Tony Daly at Villa? Lightning
yes,
quick."
Dales. I'll tell you what, I didn't really play with him, but I was with him. I'll tell you who was quicker than Tony Daly at Villa, and Tony was quick, was Daly and Atkinson.
There you go. It's all coming back now.
Daly and Atkinson. I was only there a week because Daly came in and I was leaving the football club. But Daly, seeing him in training, I mean, Tony Daly was quick, but Daly was frighteningly quick.
We'll keep them coming in. Any Cass fans? We've already had one in the Silverstone CEO this morning, Mr. Pringle. He was buzzing to be speaking to Cass. Any Cass fans? Who was the quickest player that Cass played with? But also, speaking of that, we've got some MotoGP live on talkSPORT 2 tomorrow. We've had a couple of great guests, and we were talking about how hard they are, the players, compared to footballers. Guy in Worcester says, brilliant interview. I love MotoGP. Those lads do make footballers, look stupid when they feign injuries. Thank you for that text. And then another one, I think it's a good one from Woody. He says, Max, is it just me who finds it heartbreaking that kids in the UK can't really get involved in the World Cup due to match times? If it was a European tournament, it would be accessible in all time zones. That is probably the only thing, isn't it? Particularly for, families with young kids that are football mad, wanting to watch the games. It's difficult for them. That's the only thing about this World Cup.
Well, okay, I was a very young boy when Brazil won it, and in Mexico, I was a very young lad. I didn't get up. I wasn't allowed to stay up at that particular time because I was too young. But by the time the '78 came in Argentina, that was a World Cup that all the times of the matches were all different hours of the morning.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I remember watching late games, like being up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
watching games.
It's the magic of the World Cup. But
and that is exactly it. It's the mystique, isn't it? Of a major tournament that we're all doing things different from our normal routine.
Yes, well, one of the challenges for young kids having to stay up is because, of course, England are playing late, and we're going to be chatting them now after what was a fantastic performance from the Three Lions against Croatia. Is this the start of something special to come?
A nation hopes that this time is our time. And a volley header gives England the lead. He's done it again.
How valuable is he going to be to England?
We're not getting carried away, but just that emotional connection with the fans, that was a really special moment, I thought.
Really lovely to see those England players just applauding them, looking at them, singing with them as well. Anthony Gordon's singing along with the England fans.
It was a truly special moment. I was trying to just take it all in and be right in the moment.
The thing that's going to make sure that England get far in this competition is make sure that they have a good group, because if there's a bad egg in the team, then all of a sudden it could all fall apart.
For the first game of the World Cup, there were definitely positive signs to get us excited.
Said, what's the worst that can happen? We can lose the game, so what?
Yeah. Go and play with freedom. Express yourself. Extend your wings, fly. And you allowed them to fly.
England's first World Cup win against a side ranked in the top 15 for the first time since 2002.
Thought in between if the people in the pubs would like it, and I thought, yeah, well, maybe they would like it.
He comes from Rashford, keeping his feet and winning the game for England.
And when there's wide open spaces, that suits England down to the ground.
Didn't want to be anywhere else in the world than here.
Yeah, that gets the feels going, doesn't it, England fans? It was a handbrake-off performance from Thomas Tuchel's men. I think there's something special in the water. And listening to that and that unofficial anthem Wonderwall and the connection between the fans and the players, there's something good about this feeling under Thomas Tuchel, who spoke to talkSPORT after the game, and he said this taught him a lot about his squad.
But first of all, that we have the spirit right, and that we can overcome moments where we're not at our best, and just maybe also what we like. Maybe it's also important not to over-expect. It's also normal that the pressure is on and we play against a strong opponent. So there are a lot of positives to take away, because we got a very important win. And of course, everyone knows that we were not at our best level. So there's more to come. We have to improve, which is a given. But now we have the basis that everyone is also happy to improve, and the atmosphere will be right. And today is important that the player enjoy this moment. We are over the starting line. We get our first win, first 3 points, well deserved, and still things to improve. This is how it should be.
A calm and composed Thomas Tuchel speaking to talkSPORT after what ended up being a scintillating performance in that second half from England. Cass, what were your main sort of takeaways from what I think is quite a breakthrough night for Thomas Tuchel in this England squad in the World Cup.
Well, the takeaway for me was that Croatia are not as good as once were, because obviously a number of their players are still playing, like Perisic and Modric and and others. They've got a lot of guys. They're a small nation, Croatia, and they've produced amazing teams for what they've had at their disposal. If you take it to 2018, what a good side they had then, where they obviously eliminated England in that World Cup semi-final. They were far better, that team, than the present Croatia team, that's for sure.
But they did make it difficult in that first half, Cass. They did play well, Croatia. They were intense. They put England under the cosh. I think the response from England was exceptional.
Yeah, it was. And I thought Thomas Tuchel's decisions have paid huge dividends.
Yeah.
I mean, if we take it prior to the tournament, we'd have gone 4 weeks, a month away from when the tournament squad was going to be announced and blah, blah, blah. We all assumed, fairly, I think Mark Gay was going to be the number one centre-half.
Yeah.
Number one. It was going to be Konza, maybe, John Stones, maybe. Would Harry Maguire been in that squad and maybe have a chance of playing? And he's made some calls, and one of them was a big call. It was a big call to leave out Mark Gay.
Do you think he will?
I don't know. He might bring him back. He might bring him back because he might. Thomas Tuchel always gives me the feeling he's the type of manager that if he sees something wrong, he'll adapt to that as well, and thinks it will improve England going into the next game, because England looked a little bit vulnerable and didn't play particularly well in the first half. But then we hear what happened at half time. We heard the halftime team talk made a huge difference quite clearly. He's let them know within the camp of exactly what he was expecting them to be in the second half. There was no doubt in his opinion of what he wanted. And the first 25 minutes of the second half, they were literally tearing Croatia apart.
Yeah, it was something,
and it could have gone even more very quickly.
Cass, can I get your thoughts on that halftime team talk, because a lot is still being made of it in the weekend's papers. A brilliant piece. If you've not read it, it'll be online as well at our colleagues at the Times. This is David Moyes, my key lessons from 1,200 halftime team talks.
That's brilliant.
And just talking about the how great Tuchel's halftime team talk must have been. Michael Owen says Tuchel's transformed England's mindset. This is in the Mail. He's exactly what England need to be successful.
Well,
and then you're also casting in a Telegraph. A lot of people raving as well about Anthony Barry. His halftime interview, which he's going to continue doing, really, I think, gave a flavour. He wasn't politicking. He said it exactly how England fans saw it. It was confusing and it was complicated and it wasn't good enough. And he was very straight to the point. And I think that was really impressive from an England fan's perspective. Tuchel has to be given applaudits for turning things around so quickly.
Well, and also in who he's employed as his staff as well.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. And, when I read the piece by David Moyes in the Times, an extraordinary piece, because there you are, you listen to a guy who's done, as he says, 1,200 team talks. And he would say there were some great ones and probably some poor ones in that. But what you do know is that you only get a limited time. So you've got to say it clear and quite concise about what you want in the second half. Forget what happened in the first half. This is what I want in the second half. So you can be quite short and sweet on detail. You don't have to, go into great depth. You haven't got time. And that stood out for me, that what they were like in the second half, because there's loads of common, you can go back to the Croatia game and say what happened in the second half against Croatia is the reason why England got beat. They didn't perform. Tactically, it was all over the place. Croatia changed and England didn't. So it was, I think it was really interesting watching England. If you said to me who's the best team or the most impressive performance I've seen, I would definitely say France, but only in half a game.
Yeah.
And I'd say England in half a game would be my second best team. I don't think anyone's had a complete performance so far. I mean, Argentina won 3-0, but you'd expect them to have won that anyway. There's been results that have been quite, Germany won 7, but 7-1 against Carousel. And what stood out about the teams like Germany winning is that when the substitutions come, the German substitutions are way stronger, obviously, than Carousel ones. And I did Norway, Iraq. That game was really tight, really tight. Substitutions happened for Norway, and then the Iraq cracking team, had to change players. They were nowhere near the same level. So then the Norwegians blew away Iraq in the last 20 minutes of the game. So there's them sort of things. That happened with Switzerland. You know, Switzerland were in a really tight game against Bosnia. The Swiss substitutes, come on, literally changed the game.
Changed the game. Yeah.
Greater depth. So, look, we're only 1 or 2 games through. That's where I look at it, Max. But what you can say is that this England team do definitely have a different dynamic.
Yeah, and that is what is music to England fans' ears. It was what we were asking for. It's what we needed at half-time. And while there might be questions about the defence, is the defence going to be the downfall of this England team? Is it going to be the reason they can't win a World Cup? I tell you what, they went and scored 4 goals and they looked, it was the most entertaining England performance I've seen in my entire life at a major tournament. It was absolutely pitch perfect that second half. Hats off to Thomas Tuchel. By the way, a massive run of DAZN Saturday Fight Nights is coming. It all kicks off this weekend in Southampton as Ryan the Piranha Garner takes on Italy's Michael the Lone Wolf Magnesi with a world title shot on the line. Then on June 27th, 2 princes collide in Brooklyn as Xander Zayas defends his world middleweight title against Yaron Boots Ennis. Join DAZN Ultimate to watch Ryan Garner and get access to 12 plus pay-per-view events every year, including Zayas versus Boots next weekend at no extra cost.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
You mentioned Perisic. They've got players in their side. Modric, you know, they're the wrong side of 35, right? These players have been in their team for a long, long time. And we're not struggling, but the first 45, I'm watching it thinking, how is this happening again?
But also, you've got to think, right? I get what you're saying, but also, there's going to be a few nerves kicking about.
Yeah.
Right? These guys, as you said there, have been around for such a long time, so they just understand, they're comfortable where they are. Modric, Perisic, these guys, they just know what it takes to get to that to get to that level. But it's I think there's a lot of boxes that Thomas Tuchel would have ticked. I thought the team selection he got wrong. But in my personal,
who do you get wrong?
I would have started Rashford.
Yeah, me too.
And Mark Gahey has to play. He has to play.
Talk about what you're saying outside about the balance of the centre halves.
Because John Stones, he naturally plays on the right hand side, right? And it's Maguire that usually plays on the left when it was those two. When you move John Stones out to the left, naturally he doesn't go that way to Nico O'Reilly, which is why he barely touched the ball. He couldn't go that way.
And Anthony Gordon hardly received the ball in the first
Exactly.
half.
Mark Gahey naturally plays on the left side, so he's used to receiving the ball from the right hand side and going out to the left. But that just wasn't there, which is why we hardly saw anything down that left hand side. But yeah, I would have started Mark Gahey and I would have started Rashford for sure. They would have been my first two not on the team sheet, but they're the two that I would have started.
So you would have started with Rashford on the left. What about the other side? Would you have started with Noni?
Yeah, probably, because Saka, I'm not sure. I don't know how fit Saka is.
Okay, looked good when he come on though.
Looked really good. Looked like hungry.
Yeah,
but that's a good problem you've got. But at the end of the day, the quality shone through second half. Even though there were moments towards the end of the second half before Rashford scored, I was thinking, oh my goodness, they're on top again. They're starting to move the ball. They're getting into their rhythm. Their substitutions made a big difference. But then Rashford comes on and just does what he does.
Yeah,
the sharp turn, the finish.
I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a problem that first 45 were a bit whiffy because you look at France. I was just about to say, look at France. I mean, they had a rocket up their backside. They're a completely different side in the second half.
Mbappe, told you about him, didn't I? I said, how often do I sit you?
Write his name down. He's going to be a player.
I told you that, Mbappe.
Yeah,
World Cups, he's different.
We were talking on yesterday's show actually about after that night where Haaland and Mbappe and Messi all
Yeah, good morning. It's the weekend World Cup breakfast with me, Max Scott, and Tony Cascarino, a man who played in 2 World Cups. I'm sat here looking out the window, Cass. I'm fuming with these meteorologists who are predicting scorching sunshine. It's miserable. It's grey.
Well, it's only 9:22, Max.
I know we've been up since the early hours, but I expected it to be creepy. I've been promising it to our listeners. It's not happened yet.
I think I looked at the weather this morning when I got up early, and it did say it would be cloudy and overcast where I live up until about 1 o'clock. Oh, sorry.
Well, I'm reliably informed it's still 21 degrees outside. That's a little bit of a silver lining. But if you're a bit miffed about the meteorologist lying to you about the weather, well, how about this? You want a chance to win £26,000? Well, to celebrate the 2026 FIFA World Cup, we're giving away the big bucks. Fund your summer and enter right now. Head to talksportwin.com to enter and for T's and C's. But now, looking forward to this one. I'm sure you've seen the headlines. American real estate investor Abdullah Ashraf has been confirmed as the new owner and chairman of Tamworth Football Club through his US firm Dawn Group International. Ashraf has vowed to build on recent promotions and make the dream of playing in the EFL a cold, hard reality. The new Tamworth owner will unveil his ambitious long-term plans to fans directly at a celebratory fan fest at the Lamb Stadium later today. And I'm delighted to say that he's joining us now. And if research serves me right, Abdullah, you are the youngest football club owner in England at 24 years old. Congratulations, mate, and welcome to TalkSport.
Thank you very much for having me, Max and Scott. I really appreciate it. Max and Tony. So where we're at with, I apologize for that.
That's all right, don't worry.
Good save.
Been a long weekend. But yeah, so, you know, I know for sure that I'm one of the youngest, so it's an absolute blessing. But yeah, just really delighted to be in Tamworth, and that's where we're at.
Tell us, Abdullah, why Tamworth? Have you got a connection to the Midlands, or is it just something you felt was a golden opportunity?
It's a great question, and you know, it just starts from I'm a massive footy fan. I mean, Tamworth staff and fans will tell you that any chance that I get out to be on the pitch trying to knock the ball and hit the crossbar, I'm out there. So, you know, I've always been a footy fan, and really what brought me out was one of the first National League matches that I had ever watched was Tamworth FC. And went into the boardroom. They cooked an absolutely amazing lasagna. The shed was going. I mean, it was just a fantastic atmosphere. So, you know, got to experience that. And then once we found out sort of that the club was potentially available, it was something that we wanted to snap up as quickly as possible.
I mean, look, it's amazing, mate. And it's great to have investment in the sort of lower tiers of English football. I'm sure you're aware of the sort of, you know, the financial difficulties further down the English pyramid. So it's great that there's that investment there. I'm sure you're aware that there's a famous football club owner at talkSPORT in Simon Jordan. I kind of, listening to him for years, you realise how much money football club owners lose, right? And I know you've probably got big dreams and ambitions for Tamworth, but are you prepared to invest in this club for the fans that are listening on talkSPORT this morning?
Absolutely. And that's where a key word comes to us, and that word is sustainability. So, you know, we fully understand that the ambitions are very big, the goals are very big. We want to see this club go very far, but we also understand that it has to be done in a sustainable fashion. Mm-hmm. And that's the only way to create true long-term success. So, you know, the different investments that we're wanting to be making into the club, they're going to be made with a lot of thought and in the right manner, because we do want to make sure that this club is successful for not just the next 3 years or 4 years, but the next 40 years, as was incredibly done by the previous ownership group. You know, they owned it for a very, very long time. So that's how we're looking at it.
So, Abdullah, I take it, as you're saying, because you have a consortium of businessmen involved with you.
Correct. So I lead the show, and I'm a partner, and it's myself and a couple of investors who I've worked with on many things. You know, we run a fairly large real estate business in the U.S., and yeah, these are people who we've worked together multiple times over, and there's good team chemistry there, like the 24-25 Tamworth squad against Spurs. That's what we're trying to emulate.
Tell us, Abdullah, because there's been so much American investment in the Premier League and other teams, as we've seen with Wrexham. And, tell us why there's so much of an interest that's coming from America and these consortiums.
Yeah, I think it just has to do with, you talk about football. English football is the absolute pinnacle. It's the top of the top in the world. And when you do look at, acquiring a football club, really, there's nowhere else you'd want to look other than England just because of how high the quality is. I mean, to me, the National League is as high quality as other countries' second division or potentially third division. It's just such a high quality of football. The fans are super engaging. And there's just really nothing like English football. So I think that's what's made it very, very attractive to be a part of.
Abdullah, I know that you're going to be speaking to fans later at the Lamb Stadium, but for those that are listening in on talkSPORT, what would your message to the fans be? Because I know that particularly in lower league football, there can be concerns that owners come in with big ambitions, and if they're not from the UK, they very rarely visit the stadium. What would your message to Tamworth fans be about the future that you want to bring to the football club in a very sort of real, tangible way?
Yeah, so first of all, it would be one of gratitude to just say that, so far it's been an absolute pleasure meeting so many of them, interacting with them, having conversations with them. I've absolutely loved it. And secondly would be, and I think this is something Tamworth fans will see rather than hear about over the next year. But, we've already been to multiple games. I went to the Braintree Town game, which was a win. Went to the Boreham Wood game as well, which was also a win. So Tamworth's never lost with me in the stadium. We might go undefeated next year. But no, I mean, huge footy fan, love watching the games and hoping to be there quite a lot, as much as I can. And, I know there's some concerns about American owners in the current football climate, but, I want to ensure everybody that I'm not going to be sort of an absentee owner. I want to be there. And I'm a football fan. I'm a massive football fan before anything else. And that's sort of what got me into this place. So I can see that side of it and really just looking forward to building the club, obviously, but also attending some really, really cool games.
That's right. That's good to hear, Abdullah. And just quickly, a word on the USMNT. Got off to an absolute flyer in the World Cup. I mean, where do you stand in the spectrum of American football fans who are sort of either, we're going to win the World Cup, or, where do you sit along the scale? How confident are you under Poch?
This is an interesting question because I'm trying to figure out whether I switch to soccer when I answer this one, or do I say football? I always make sure. Yeah, I'm like, depending on what side of the Atlantic I'm on, I got to say the right.
Yeah, we stick to football there, mate. We stick to football.
So, I think that, and I haven't been able to watch as much of the World Cup as I would have wished, just being over with all of the Tamworth stuff. I do have tickets to all the U.S. national team games, and I have not attended one yet as we've been overseas. We've been over here, but I think we're looking good. I think we're looking very good. To have 2 wins, to beat Paraguay 4-1, and then to go on and beat Australia as well 2-0. And I know this is not how football works, but Australia beat Turkey, so that's who our next opponent is. So no, I think we're looking very, very good, and it's going to be a very exciting World Cup for American fans.
Abdullah, absolute pleasure to speak to you, mate, and good luck with the future of Tamworth. Of course, hope it goes well, and thanks for coming on to talkSPORT.
Good luck.
I really appreciate you guys having me. Take care, guys.
Absolute pleasure. That's Abdullah Ashraf, the new owner of Tamworth, 24 years old, and I've got to say, I used to be a secondary school teacher, and I know that he's not a secondary school student, but very impressive young man.
Yes, very, and rightly so. And obviously, he's got this idea, and also wants to be very pragmatic about it, which is great for Tamworth fans.
Absolutely. Speaking about sustainability,
no huge promises.
Yeah, exactly. Very levelled. Speaking about, of course,
I'm signing Harry Kane next.
Yeah, we will see what happens, but I think good immediate signs there for Tamworth fans, and that investment there, great to see in the English football pyramid. But coming up next, we've got a big guest. Yannick Bolasie is joining talkSPORT.
chatting off air about Terry Venables and Euro 96. You're getting Euro 96 vibes already.
Well, I'm getting England-Holland Euro 96 vibes, 100%, because, I was very fortunate enough to know Terry, as I'm sure you two did. And, I asked him about that game. We used to do a show together on Saturdays on the radio about football. And, he said, I just threw 7 forwards on. Everybody could play in attack. Even the sort of back four, we were very sort of front-footed thinking. And he said, don't worry about how many goals they're going to score. Just score more goals than them. And then you have them on the back foot and they can't get out of their own half anyway. Yeah. And you were there for England-Holland at Wembley Stadium. I was there when the scoreboard said England 4, Holland 0. I mean, they did score a goal, but we did see 4-0 for a while. And last night was very, very reminiscent of that, and they talk about total football. That was as close as we got. And, I'm fascinated by managers and what they say and what makes the difference between Alex Ferguson and an Arsene Wenger and a Thomas Tuchel compared to the others. Ancelotti, I know you're a big fan of, and he's been on the show. Yeah. And it's great, isn't it, because Harry, the thing about Tuchel is he's just saying what he thinks, even right before the game. He's saying, well, we're going to do this because they're going to do that. And if they're watching, they know what he's going to do. But he's so organised in a way that's sort of, quite off-putting for the opposition, I would imagine. And then Harry Kane does a Thomas Tuchel after the match because he tells you exactly what Tuchel told them at half time, which was basically, lads, I thought we had a deal here. You're gonna play like you don't care, like you're back in the playground, and in the first half you didn't do that, boys. We had an agreement. Can we just go out and do that? And they all went, oh yeah, we remember. And they just went out, and it was just a different game. And I was, as you can hear, I was very excited about it. We all were very excited about it. And this morning, there's this whole sense of relief and release, and now we're looking forward to next week and Tuesday, and it's like, it might be coming home.
Laffy Mix. It's Lionel Richie. No, it's not. Well, you've done all Lionel Richie songs this morning.
Do you know what country this song is from?
Well, it's got to be South American, yeah?
Nope.
Oh, Africa.
Yeah.
Which one? Ivory Coast. No, it's Congo. I did DR Congo.
DR Congo, correct.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is because we're hoping that Yannick Bolasie is going to be joining us shortly on the Weekend Breakfast Show with me, Max Scott, alongside Tony Cascarino. But keep your texts coming in. 81089. We're getting some corrections about the weather. Griff from Kings Lynn. Hi, lads. Drizzle in Pompey. Thanks for that, mate. Just so you know.
Well, you did talk a little bit earlier, like Michael Fish. Do you remember Michael Fish?
No, who's that?
Have you never Googled Michael Fish?
No.
He was the weatherman in 1989. They got all the weather wrong and basically went out on air and said, this is it. And there were storms. There were storms everywhere.
Well, that's it. I mean, Emma, a Luton fan, says, Max, no one lied about the weather. You're just a day early. Me giving it the big into the meteorologist. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Emma. Bring me back down to earth. Also got a lovely message I did from Scott, Forest fan who lives in Glastonbury, says it's nice, amongst other things, that it's nice to hear the accent on the wireless. Thanks for that, Scott. Appreciate that, mate. And then on the speed merchants that we've been talking about, Keith Curl was known as the fastest player in the country back in the day, Cass. So you play at the same time as him?
Yeah, I played against Keith a few times, yeah. He's definitely lightning quick. Yeah, I'm trying to think who it might have been as quick. Des Walker was lightning quick as well.
You'll never beat Des Walker.
Yeah, Des was quick. I played against him. And Paul Parker. Paul Parker, who played QPR, Manchester United, he was lightning quick as well. Trying to think of a few more. I mean, look, there's some great players. I mean, I honestly, Max, I played against Henry when he was 18, and I experienced his pace. I got caught in a one-on-one with him, and I was 37, right? And I'm telling you, it was like a gust.
Is that when you knew the football had left you?
I actually said, I went and saw the manager the next day after the game, who was a Romanian coach called Laszlo Bolony, who won the Champions League, or the European Cup as it was then, in '86 in Barcelona for Romania. I went to his office the day after because he was my manager. And I said to him, I think I'm going to call it a day. And he said, what on what reason? You've had a really good season. I said, Monaco, we got beat 3-0. I said, I got caught with Henry, and, he's an 18-year-old kid. I said, he flew by me like I weren't there. And he went, why would that bother you? He's one of the quickest players in French football. He said, and you're 37. You're not there to be, worrying about being your pace now. That's not your game. He said, stay with it to the end of the season. And I did. But it made me want to retire because I felt like I had a parachute on my back. He was that quick. I just felt it. Yeah, I must have had about 8 yards on him, and the ball's got lobbed right in the far corner and been a foot race. And I'm thinking, I'm going to get there. And then suddenly he's come from nowhere. Wow. And I remember thinking, but Anelka was quicker apparently than Henry. Anelka.
So just want to go about that. Thierry Henry essentially retired you. He started at the end of your retirement, retirement journey.
I went into the manager's office, like I said, the next day after the game because I was pretty down about the result, and we were fighting relegation, and he convinced me to keep going. And I actually scored a good few goals that season in my final year. But it was one of them moments and I get it for a defender. When Gary Neville's talked about, when fullbacks and you come up against a winger. I mean, I remember Dennis Irwin talking about the Bulgarian, Stoichkov. Saying how quick he was. He says quickest thing he ever played against. And he played against some great wingers in his career.
There you go. Good story, that, Cass. I never knew that. Thierry Henry almost retired Tony Cascarino.
No, it wasn't a normal. It was one of them. When you're down.
Yeah, it makes you realise.
You just come in and because we would fly everywhere in France, Max. So Monaco would be an 8 o'clock kickoff, and we would fly down there the night before, and then after the game we'd fly straight back out of Nice Airport to come back home. And I remember the atmosphere on the plane, and everyone was down. A really poor result that we had, and I was very quiet, and I kept thinking. In my head, I'm thinking I've got to call it a day. I've got to, but say luckily because I got another 6 months playing. But I was going to retire at the end of the season anyway, and I was just thinking of calling it early. And the manager said to me, "No, I want you to stay and just forget about that."
There you go. The power of pace that can have on you. Right, Cass. I want us to talk about the opening round of next season in the Premier League because it kicks off on Friday.
The US Open.
No, it kicks off Friday, August 21st. Later this summer, reigning champions Arsenal are going to begin their title defence at home against newly promoted Coventry City. The supercomputer somehow pulled that one out of the bag. I'm sure that's the case. Defending champions Arsenal obviously got Cov, and Coventry owner Doug King joined H&J yesterday. Says he cannot wait to get started.
Listen, we haven't been here for 6 years, have we? So anything would have done for us. But what a start at the capital, at the champions. I love that. champions against the champions, and we'll kick it off, and we'll be. Look, I think we've got to go into every game that we have next year, believing we have a chance. We know how difficult it'll be there. We know how they play. We know how good they are. Yeah, they're coming back. A lot of the talent will be involved in the World Cup, and so their pre-season will be a little bit different than it may have been in other years. But look, we're not. It's a daunting prospect, but a mouth-watering one, and that's how we're looking at it.
Yeah.
What are you smiling at?
Well, I was laughing. I thought you were going to say a prediction.
No, I'm not giving a prediction.
Do you know what? I'll give this. Being a promoted team, we had this with Millwall. We got promoted. And our first game was Aston Villa away. And I remember that day as we drew 2-2 with Villa. But that day of being in the top flight for the first time, and look, a lot of these Coventry players wouldn't have been in the top flight. Some of them would have. But Coventry had an amazing season last year. So it's absolutely, a top game for them.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I was having this conversation with Benty yesterday about as a newly promoted team, do you want like a top opener like that away at the champions at the Emirates, or would you rather have a smaller team and because you're thinking, right, we want points on the board early? Do you know what I mean? Where as a player, I mean, you did it for Millwall. Would you want that big away game, or would you want a game you're more likely to win?
No, I didn't care. And I don't think many of the team did, because you know that you're going to meet a lot of great teams along the way, top sides along the way. You're going to go to Arsenal, you're going to go to Liverpool, Man United, all these teams you're going to go to anyway and play them home, So it's not like a cup draw. An FA Cup draw is different. You want them big draws to play the big boys. You know you're going to play them. So that was the exciting thing. And just my memories of Millwall fans at that time just being so elated that they were in the top flight for the first time ever in the club's history.
Yeah.
Which isn't the case with Coventry and other teams that got promoted. So, yeah, it's great.
You're Liverpool up against Newcastle away. That's a tough one for Andoni Raiola.
I'm not overly fussed. I believe, and I said it very early on, that I think we've got the right manager in now to have a different way of playing that will be far more effective, and we have got lots of great players, and hopefully with the full pre-seasons, Liverpool players will come back absolutely spot on this year, and with some new exciting transfers as well.
I agree with you, Cass. I'm
optimistic about Liverpool now.
I seriously think under Andoni Raiola, with his Bilbao connections and the similarities between Bilbao and Liverpool in so many ways, I think he's going to get off to an absolute flyer, and I think Liverpool are going to be in a title race.
There's no guarantee of how you're going to get off, but what I do think, we've signed a manager that has a style that I look at that squad and think it will work.
Yeah.
And he's got players he's worked with before. Obviously, Kirkers, he's worked with a player that played so much better for Bournemouth than he did for Liverpool.
Yeah.
And he knows the strengths of him. Look, I feel optimistic about Liverpool, but there's always a challenge because Arsenal at the moment are sitting at the top of the tree.
Yeah, I'm confident. I'm really confident for Liverpool. I think they're going to be the dark horse. Everyone's talking, Cass, about...
But they're not dark horse because they're squads.
Well, you know what I mean.
Season they've had.
It was so disappointing in there, and there's change, and you've seen the likes of Ibrahima Konate. So in that sense, I don't think, personally, from what I read and from what I hear, that Liverpool are seen as genuine title contenders. I think the easy narrative to go down, and it might happen, but the easy one is that Arsenal are going to usher in a new period of dominance. They're going to have some sort of dynasty, whatever. They're going to win the next 5 Premier Leagues. Don't think that's going to happen, Cass. I think, and this idea that Mikel Arteta is going to just take the handbrake off and they're going to play free-flowing football. Is he? Hold on a minute. Is he? This style of football, the turgid style of football, it might have been a winning style of football, but that turgid style of football won him the Premier League. Why is he going to change it? I don't buy that narrative, Cass.
No, I don't. I do think there will be an evolution slightly at Arsenal. I don't believe it will go from black to white.
No.
I think there will be a slow evolution, and that will be buying better players.
Yes.
Which that enables them to do. That's what makes you have a side that can be so much more better. Where they are now. I'm sure he's looking at certain players to go, that's an upgrade on what I've got.
Without a shadow of a doubt. A reminder, Arsenal's opener is against newly promoted Coventry, back in the top flight for the first time in 25 years, and it is live exclusively to national radio on talkSPORT Friday the 21st of August, followed by the early kickoff. Hull welcome Manchester United. That's going to be a belter, always is traditionally, live on talkSPORT. And the rest of the opening fixtures you can find at talksport.com if you don't already know. You're listening to the Weekend World Cup Breakfast on talkSPORT. One more section up next. Cascarino yes, Cascarino no.
Simon, from Southgate to Tuchel, was this the front-footed difference that you have been wishing?
Oh, definitely. I mean, for a number of reasons, for the reasons that Brad's laid out in terms of the substitutions, from the manner in which this is rock and roll football. This is what we saw with Jurgen Klopp in the second half. Interesting that Tuchel needs to have a reinforcement at half-time, because you would have assumed that that conversation had happened before the game and that they were told to get on the front foot before the game. And England looked quite nervous when they started, and they weren't, for the first 5 or 10 minutes, I thought they weren't really at it. You know, I think the performance in the second half, I was sitting next to Brad, and he was saying to me, and I think I'm right in quoting him, is that this is the best attacking formation or attacking performance that we've seen in the World Cup so far, in terms of the way that they put it upon the Croatians. Whatever we may have created in the media about how old this Croatian team is, Troy was saying to me off air that the average age of the Croatians is 28 and a half, whereas our team is 27. We've been walking around under the impression this is a dad's army, just because you've got Luka Modric. So they're not mugs. You know, I think we could have done better with the goals, but notwithstanding that, you know, whatever lessons we think we need to learn defensively, Tuchel will learn them and they'll make some adjustments. But offensively, if you look at that performance, that is as good as you want an England side to play. It's as good as an England side has played on the front foot for a very, very long time. And you look at it, and 4-2 flatters the Croatians to some extent, because England could have had 6 in the second half. So I think it's a great marker. It's a great start to the tournament. It's what the public will want to see. Tuchel is hiding his light behind a bushel, because I would imagine he was very strong in the dressing room at half-time to wake a few people up, because you saw it, they came out of the traps like men possessed. Yeah. You know, the perfect cure to a goal just before half-time is a goal directly after half-time. And that's exactly what England got.
I also thought as well, sorry, I know you've got to go to break.
No problem.
But you know, now you see so many managers say buzzword.
Good morning. It's the Weekend World Cup Breakfast final section of the show before Max and Charlie join with the warm-up to keep that World Cup party going. But this morning, some of your headlines, I remind you if you've just tuned in, Miguel Almiron became the first player to be sent off for covering his mouth in the World Cup. The 10-man Paraguay bravely clung on to boost their last 32 hopes and eliminate Turkey in that 1-0 game. By the way, if you haven't seen it, the El Salvadorian ref, sorry to keep going on about this, Cas, but it's my favourite thing of the day. He comes out, he does his VAR decision announcement. It is hilarious. He's fuming. Sounds like something out of The Sopranos. Unbelievable stuff. Elsewhere, New Zealand assumed complete control of the second test as Henry Nicholls' century punished England errors on another day of frustration on the field at the Oval. Don't get me started, Cass, on what is going on with English cricket. I'm completely disenfranchised. Let's see if Ben Stokes is back for the third test. We're hearing that he will be. And Germany are taking on the Ivory Coast today. talkSPORT's bringing you that game live on talkSPORT. Kick-off at 9 p.m. How do you think that one goes, Cass? We've got some really good fixtures this evening. We've covered Netherlands, Sweden.
Yeah.
What do you see with Germany and Ivory Coast?
Oh, tough game.
Yeah.
And it'd be a big test for Germany because Ivory Coast are decent. I've seen them a couple of times, and I think that'd be a real close game. I wouldn't be surprised if that ended a draw.
Yes. No, I agree. And for me, Germany aren't in my top 5. Are they in yours to win the World Cup?
No, I wouldn't have them in my top 5. I mean, look, there's still a long way to go, and there's games to be played. So have they got more in the tank? We'll see. Because I thought they... Look, it's hard to... When you judge them against Curacao and they win 7-1...
Yeah, you can't.
You can't compare to knockout stages and elite teams. You can't.
No, I agree. Well, it remains to be seen. The jury's out on Germany. Of course, that one's live on talkSPORT. Kickoff at 9 p.m. Okay, time now for a little bit of this.
Cascarino yes or Cascarino no?
On the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT.
What?
Here we go then. It's that time in the show where, Cass, we ask you some yes or no questions, the most pressing in the world of sports, of course. And we're going to start by hearing more from talkSPORT's Will Hobbs, who has been talking to Scotland fans and asked them how they're feeling ahead of the Brazil game.
We're really poor tonight. I think we should put the handbrake off, but you know what? We'll beat Brazil easily. I've seen them against Morocco. They're no big shakes. Scotland will beat them maybe 1-0, 2-0. We only need 1 point, mate. Only needs 1 point and we'll go through.
Do you think you've played your toughest game tonight in the group?
100%, mate. 100%. So we've actually been cheated in this World Cup because Morocco are a top pot 1 team, but they've been moved in because Canada, USA, Mexico are the host nations. So we'll beat Brazil and we'll go through. Not a problem.
Does Gannon Doe need to start against Brazil?
100%. I think Steve Clark didn't really know what he's thinking about by not playing him, being a bit too defensive. He just scored in the first minute and then they sat back. We should have been playing Gannon Doe for the start and gone for the win, gone for the jugular, and then we'd have beat them easily, mate. Easily.
Tell you what, Cass. Put a couple of pints of nectar down the throats of these Scottish blokes and they become tactical geniuses.
He needs to put his name in the hat for the Scotland job next time.
It's impressive because they've obviously been on the tiles all night and we've got some good content with Will Hobbs and those Scotland fans. But Cass, can Scotland beat Brazil? Live on talkSPORT Wednesday?
Well, do I think is more the question, because anyone can beat anyone given that an opportunity. I'd say 9 out of 10 times, no, they wouldn't beat them. But 1 in 10, they could. I hope they get a draw. I hope they get a draw out.
Okay, so you can't say Cascarino draw.
No, well, it is my decision. You didn't put Cascarino draw in it, so I'm going to draw. I'm going to go for Scotland to get a draw to get them through.
Fair enough, that'd be a great day for the Scots, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
through to the knockout stages.
I'm hoping they can. I think there's one big performance in Scotland. They really have got one, because I don't think they've played particularly well in both games.
No.
So I do really believe they've got one big performance. So it's going to be the draw against Brazil.
Brilliant stuff. Remember, that one's live on talkSPORT. Elsewhere, Rio Ferdinand joined Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent on breakfast yesterday morning, and he had this to say about England's defence.
Mark Gay has been our mainstay since the last tournament, so I was really shocked that he wasn't playing. I thought it was Mark Gay plus someone else. Konza's had a wonderful season, but I would have played Gay, and after this season, I'd probably played Gay and Konza.
Cascarino yes or Cascarino no? Should Gahey be starting against Ghana?
Well, I'm like most people that thought that Mark Gay would be an absolute shoe-on in the team. I think that could be the case again. So, yeah, I do think he'll play him.
There we go. I'd agree with you on that one. Who for Stones or Konza?
I'm not sure how fit Stones was.
Yeah.
He looked like he hadn't played football, enough minutes.
I agree.
He didn't look like he had enough for me. So no, I'd go definitely Mulgay and Konza, and see where England are from there.
Big game, England-Ghana, live on talkSPORT Tuesday night. Cass, that's all we've got time for. Absolute pleasure, and we'll be back 7 a.m. tomorrow.
Weather permitting. Now you're Michael. Anyway, see you in the morning, because it feels like a long 4 hours. I feel quite drained now, Mac.
You feel drained, dear, after 4 hours of me?
No, 4 hours of you.
Well, I've had an absolute belter.
So, that was great fun.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. We'll be back with you tomorrow. A reminder, big games tonight. Netherlands against Sweden. Germany, Ivory Coast, live on talkSPORT. That's it from us on a World Cup Sports Breakfast. Tony and I will be back tomorrow from 7 to keep the World Cup party going. Up next, it's the warm-up with Max Rushton and Charlie Baker.
And I were talking about that in great detail on yesterday's show about whether or not he should start, how much game time he should have. Because it's Cristiano Ronaldo, I think there's so much pressure on the manager, Roberto Martinez, to pick him, to start him, etc. What's your view on a situation like that? What do you do, Rio?
Well, Roberto Martinez is paid the money to make this decision, and I think it's the way that he handles that. It will be key. I think if he was going to attempt to kind of take Cristiano Ronaldo out of the team, I think it's all about the narrative. I think it's all about approaching him and going, listen, if he thinks this is how I'll do it. We've got a better chance of winning it for you coming on with 30 minutes to go when the opposition are tired, when their limbs are all weary,